Let's go ahead and call the meeting to order, please.
Council workshop meeting Monday, April 4th, 2022, 6 p.m. Hydrich. Holtmeyer.
Aye.
Patke.
Here.
Pettit.
Here.
Reed.
Here.
Scornia.
Here.
Solentrup.
Here.
Wessels.
Here.
Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Will all the committee members answer if they have or have not read the minutes of the meeting dated March 7, 2022? Hydrich.
Aye.
Holtmeyer.
Aye.
Patke.
Aye.
Pettit.
Aye.
Reed.
Yes.
Scornia.
Yes.
Solentrup.
Yes.
Wessels.
Aye.
Having read the minutes, are there any comments or questions?
If not, I'll make a motion. Second.
We have a motion by Patke, seconded by Holtmeyer, to approve the minutes from our last meeting dated March 7, 2022. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? By your vote, you approve the minutes. Thank you.
Presentations 2023 through 2033 Comprehensive Plan.
Good evening, Council. I just wanted to give everyone an update on where we are with our comprehensive plan, our 10-year plan. We have, and I have invited some members of our committee here tonight as well to show that this is not something that just staff reviewed. We did have an ad hoc committee from the Planning and Zoning Commission to review this. Just to kind of get started here and go a little background, I'm sure as everyone's aware, we typically complete a comprehensive plan approximately every 10 years. That is, we've done that from 93, 2003 to 2013. So staying on that path of creating 10-year plans and trying to follow them as close as we can, that puts us up to 2023 for our next one that is due. And obviously, a comprehensive plan, it reviews not only your existing conditions, it allows community input on where we want to see our community grow, where we want to change, and then it creates goals and objectives that are tangible items that we can actually try and address and change and implement over the 10 years. So this background I have here, I have those years in bold. We've had a number of studies completed over the last 10 or so years that we refer to when we're coming up with our own strategies, or we have development proposals. We refer to the comp plan to see if it is compatible. But we've had, obviously, the comprehensive plan for 2013. There was a workforce analysis completed in 2014, an economic development strategy completed in 2015, and then actually a separate downtown revitalization plan that I believe was done with a grant with downtown that they applied for, but we participated in 2011. All four of those were separate documents completed by separate firms, and although we do utilize them and try and follow them as much as we can, they weren't designed and planned together and didn't necessarily flow together, or they had areas that overlapped that one firm had already told us something that the next firm came in and reiterated. So this year, really actually since the end of 21 and into 22, we set a committee, members of the Planning and Zoning Commission and 4 members of staff to solicit firms to compile a plan that encompasses kind of all the above. Looking forward for the next 10 years, not only just our comprehensive plan, but is there a different economic development strategy we should work on, and how does that equate to a workforce analysis and workforce development? Because obviously, as we all hear, that's the number one hurdle right now, is having adequate workforce, finding workers. And it's not just like it used to be, find a targeted industry, offer your economic development incentives. You can have the land and everything lined up. If a company isn't comfortable with being able to fill their new open positions, they're not going to come here. So we wanted to put an emphasis on workforce development and how that equates to our other issues with housing and transportation and all of that as well. So we wanted to have these documents that utilizes the same data and create to work with each other. Have these documents easily accessible to the public. As you know, right now our comp plan is on our website, but it's just a 285-page PDF that doesn't have any index. You just have to know where you're going and scroll through. So we wanted something a little more user-friendly for the public and staff to be able to easily find things. And then a concise implementation strategy with specific goals and general timelines for that strategy. Right now, our comprehensive plan, and we do follow it. It's not just a book or a document that lives on a shelf at City Hall. We do utilize it, but the implementation strategy doesn't necessarily have doesn't have a list of responsible parties, which department needs to work on that and when. It doesn't break it down into a timeline, short, medium, and long-term goals. It just, when we would work on a project, we would say, okay, we're going to tackle this strategy right now with that project, but didn't actually have tangible items like an action item of this is what you could do. So that was one thing we told the firms we really wanted to see on our next plan, that here is a specific action that the engineering department could take. Here's the goal that it would be fulfilling. Here's an estimated cost, and if it's a short, medium, or long term, when they need to work on it. As you've seen in your packet, we interviewed 4 firms. The firm that we have proposed to enter into a contract with is called H3 Studios. And I am trying to go to summarize this as best I can tonight in just the next 3 slides. I put in your packet, there's a 19-page scope of services that they're going to provide. This is just their scope of services. This is not actually their full proposal. So I didn't want to put all that in front of you, but kind of wanted to show why we're proposing to enter a contract with them, and then what really they're going to provide. So there's 2 articles as part of it that we can have 2 living documents. One is the comprehensive plan, which obviously is much larger, encompassing document, and then a separate workforce development and economic development strategy that they go hand in hand, done by the same firm, obviously, but 2 actual separate documents that we can share with industry and kind of have a different focus area. But on the Article 1, that is specifically the comprehensive plan. They broke it down into 4 phases. And one thing you'll mention, I'll point out on here, I don't have the community input listed on each here as a bullet point, because they have a community engagement section in each phase. So as you go through here, they make sure to open up the community engagement and continue to have sessions and public input, whether it's online or in person, through each phase of this. So that's not one thing we're missing. But so the phase 1 is really the technical tasks. This data collection of where we're at, existing conditions in the community, map production. Obviously, our comp plan is going to have a lot of maps. And we have right now our comp plan was completed with just static PDFs that didn't work into the GIS system that our engineering department and Charles has been working really hard to make sure all the data is there. And so they call them base maps that they're going to create as part of this, that we can connect this plan to our GIS. It's going to review the existing physical conditions, so what's actually built, whether it meets our code or not, and then our regulatory analysis. So are there sections of our code that are contradicting where the comprehensive plan is heading? We may say we want XYZ development, but does our code actually allow for that? So that type of review. And then all of that compared to our existing comp plan, so they're not necessarily starting from scratch. They're going to look at goals and objectives we had before. Did we achieve those? Do we want to change those or build on them? Obviously, the community engagement is vital. That would be the open up in the first one, virtual and in person, multiple public workshops. Again, like I said, through each phase of this, they'll have public workshops, and as well as meetings with stakeholders, business and citizens. So it's not, they'll have 2 different surveys that they send out, one specifically for business owners because they're going to have a different set of concerns and ideas where they want the city to go, and then one for citizens that they fill out as well. And then creating these steering committees, general citizen and business, so not just the surveys go out, but specific steering committees that we can appoint people to be on throughout this process. And this will be essentially a 12-month process. We originally kind of started 9 to 10, but it doesn't have to start January 1, 2023. It just needs to start in 2023.
So can I interrupt just a second? That part of it, that community involvement part, it sounds a lot like what we do with our half-cent capital improvement. We bring the community, we get a lot of involvement from the community, what they'd like to see, et cetera, et cetera. So this is obviously more specific, and it's done by a professional group that does that sort of thing. But will that take the place of our next one, which is what, 26 is when that next one expires?
I wouldn't say so, because that has more specific projects about capital items. We may be able to take this data and, there's a goal in there that we wanted to achieve that's not done by the next capital improvement sales tax, and we can build on it. But I wouldn't say they're exactly the same questionnaire.
No, but I'm just thinking this could be used to save some of the process that we did on the other one.
Absolutely. I mean, that's part of the idea, is that we could actually come up with these actionable items and break them down year by year. Year 3 into our next 10-year comp plan, what goals are we going to be working on? And that, knowing that our capital improvement sales tax is up in 26, that would be obviously a targeted list of goals during that year. So yeah, I'm following you. That definitely could be. Again, phase 2, that's where you get into the community visioning. So after they really look at the existing conditions of the city, studying our demographics, our past growth and potential growth, they get into the community visioning and goal setting. That's where, again, the community engagement, what do the citizens and business owners actually want to see? What input are we getting? And then create that 10-year vision and identify responsible parties for who would be completing those goals. Phase 3, this is, again, the draft plan recommendations. So they start actually putting it into a form that we would be beginning to review, send back comments on. Again, has community input, so they can see where people who have been answering the survey want to see if the goals are the items they want to see completed are actually in the draft plan, and prepare and review final comprehensive plan. That's where they start looking into goals relating to everything, to housing, transportation, infrastructure. That may be something that was important to us, that you may not have the general citizenry filling out a survey and saying, hey, I want you to slip line these clay pipes out on this street, because they don't know about it. But they're going to have professionals on the staff that say, hey, you have to keep looking at these projects as well. So make sure those general infrastructure items are on our comp plan, and then future existing land use. So actually looking at, as we grow, as zoning changes come in, are we matching our plan that we set for ourselves? And then obviously the phase 4, it's the actual adoption of the plan and creating those implementation strategies, where they give us a chart of the goals and objectives, and again, who's responsible for it, and at what point, short, medium, long term, are we going to set that goal to be completed. So the second one, that kind of encompasses the comprehensive plan side of it. I will say, I try to put that onto one slide for you guys, because the first 12 out of 19 pages really dives into that. So when I get into the price in here, you may say it seems expensive, but they break down to the $400 for this participated or particular meeting kind of thing. So it really dives down into the specifics in here, which is what Darren, John, and Wayne and myself did even after the fact. After the committee chose them, we had 4 meetings with them to say, hey, give us a very specific scope of what you'll be providing. The second part of it, as we continue to have these meetings, we knew we wanted to include the workforce development, economic development strategy as part of this. It's kind of evolved as we had our meetings with them and realized that really probably the best strategy is to have a separate document, especially when it comes to specific workforce needs. If we have an industry looking to expand or move to Washington, they're not going to flip through a 300-page document. They're going to want to know, tell us about your workforce profile. This will create that. We can send them this smaller document that is table of contents that they can flip to, knowing that everything in there is specific to something they would want to know, not necessarily about parks and rec or transportation that they don't need for their business needs. And we, again, haven't done this since 2014. Obviously, people are working from home, trends, things are changing, and how the general workforce behaves and is growing, so we wanted to get this updated. So they broke this down into 5 tasks. First one, demographic and housing trends, projections, and land needs. So that's where they really look at our existing profile. What are the population characteristics? Do you have the housing needs that match what your general wages are? They'll actually do a survey to figure out what the wages are in the area, how many people are working in that, and then what your housing stock, see if that matches. I think a lot of us may know the answer to that we may are missing that gap of housing for that, but this would give us some data to be able to bring to a developer who's maybe on the fence about providing that type of housing. We can say, look, we have that need. You can actually bring the information to them packaged in this professional document. Again, housing needs versus average wages, identify gaps, and create scenarios for housing and population growth. So they identified in here as one of the tasks, they'll come up with 3 different population growth scenarios that they can show, if you really focus on this type of housing versus this one, and what type of growth you could see there. Task 2 will be identify target industry sectors for retention, expansion, and attraction. So that's kind of all-encompassing. Is there a sector of manufacturing, because we are heavy in manufacturing, that we're not going after right now, that because of our workforce and our skills and all of that, or the skills that our workforce has, Should we be going after them? Should we be targeting that industry? And then on the same side of that, are there overlapping characteristics when it comes to distributing and shipping goods? Is there because of a grouping of companies that we have here, maybe there's a company that would fit well with them because of their location geographically. They can kind of share and bounce off each other. They can identify those by studying the industries we have and say, hey, look, this is a sector that would really do well here, given what's already in the area. Task 3, we thought this was important, actually have downtown Washington specific opportunities, and not just have downtown Washington as a focus area in our comp plan for aesthetics, but actually focus on it as an economic development driver. We all know if your downtown dies, your whole community doesn't thrive, and so that's where we wanted to have this as a focus area as well, not just for having the quality of life that our businesses and our workforce wants to see with a vibrant downtown, but also the tourism side of it. That's a whole nother economic driver are there opportunities downtown. And I put in there, they've identified they're going to do SWOT analysis, that's strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So they'll kind of identify that for us in all of these tasks. Task 4, evaluate and project the Washington area labor force. Again, very important to know exactly what type of labor shed we have. When I have industries looking to come to this area, that's some of the first questions they have about educational attainment and soft skills and that kind of thing. That's hard to write. For right now, we don't necessarily have a document that I can just hand them of exactly what it is. The best thing we can do is have them call other industries and find out for themselves. But this can actually have demographic data specific to workforce that we can share. And then last, obviously I would say most important, is create an economic and workforce development strategy. So this is where they actually, again, identify tangible goals and objectives to grow Washington workforce and identify economic development tools. Is there something we're not doing now? Again, with our last economic development strategy, it had some goals and objectives, but it didn't have tangible actions. Here's what you are not doing that you should be doing, and here's how you can get it done. So they're going to come up with scenarios to actually complete that, which is what we're really looking for with this. So there we go. The H3 specific proposal. Again, we interviewed 4 firms. That was actually, we had 4 submit, and we decided let's just go ahead and interview all 4. And that, again, there was 4 staff members and then 6 members of the community, or the Planning and Zoning Commission reviewed that, interviewed. We had all 4 of them over an hour for each. That got to really dive into what they would be able to propose, what they'd be able to provide, I should say, as well as examples of their past work. And so with H3, we're really comfortable that they were going to be able to provide an in-depth review of our existing conditions, project the needs based on professional surveying and community input. They really were one of the few organizations that came in and said, we will have 2 surveys. The other 3 groups actually said, we typically do 1 survey, whether it's business owner or a general citizen. They really focus on the fact that you're going to have different answers, different responses. Let's do two questionnaires here. Then we are confident that they have a deep understanding of our community. They are currently doing the comprehensive plan for Union. They have done multiple studies in Franklin County on the Highway 47, Highway 100, on both highways, and then they have local team members that came out with them. So that last bullet point, they came to the presentation, filled up this first row with a team of professionals from urban planning, transportation, and economic developers to kind of provide one concise plan, which again was our goal here. So they have H3, the studio, they're kind of the urban planners. Horn Architects, Steve Struberg was here with them. He was a member of their group on their presentation for urban design and architectural guidelines and housing design. Lockmuller Group, who I'm sure you guys are aware of, they did the 47 corridor study. They have been hired to do some Highway 100, and they showed in the presentation that they've already been hired by developers locally to study some of our transportation needs. So they have a good understanding of our area. And then Bob Lewis, who is the economic development consultant, he has had his own consulting firm. He has worked with our downtown on multiple projects. He is very familiar with the area and was able to present that article too. So that really made us comfortable with moving forward with them. So I'm going to get down to the breakdown of cost here. And again, this is over a 12-month process, give or take. We'd like to have it out in early 2023 implemented, but there's no reason that we really have to as long as it's out in 23, there's no reason really have to stick to anything hard and fast. So the proposal cost, they broke it down into two costs for us. The comp plan itself, which was one document, $110,970, so just under $111,000. And then the workforce and economic development study is $23,150. And so obviously that comes to just approximately $134,000. So we budgeted, we knew obviously this was coming. This is not a surprise project, obviously every 10 years. We have $85,000 budgeted right now for this. That was kind of the idea when I went out to firms asking how much this would cost. Obviously, as it got bigger, it got a little bit more expensive from the firms, obviously. But we have currently budgeted, I have here in bold, planning and zoning budget has $75,000 and economic development has $10,000 budgeted for this project. And so obviously we have a little bit of a gap there. We talked internally, and since in reality every department is going to be utilizing this over the next 10 years, and there are items listed in here that those departments would be able to utilize to complete their goals, we thought let's actually tap into maybe some other department budgets here. The transportation sales tax obviously has its own separate fund, and since Lockmuir Group would be doing a significant amount of study for our, not only our highway system, but our internal road network as well, they actually broke that out, and that is how much we'd be paying Lockmuir Group for the transportation analysis portion of it. And so we took out the transportation analysis portion and put it towards transportation sales tax. And then I'll skip to the bottom here, stormwater, wastewater. We made sure to talk to them that, you know, if we're going to tap into either the stormwater fund or the water fund is its own self-sufficient fund by water fees, they are looking into the infrastructure of our water and sewer, and looking at as we grow, and then if farm sells and they want to annex, they're going to give us reasonable information on how feasible it is to study or how feasible it is to develop. And so we looked at it and looked, well, really there's benefit to having a portion of it come there. So there's $18,000 coming from there. We did have stormwater in there because they will also do an analysis on stormwater, how we fit into the MS4 function of the St. Louis region. As you guys are all aware, we have to meet the DNR guidelines of that. And so this would help us be able to meet that and have that documentation whenever we get audited for our stormwater needs. And then that last $15,000 here, I will caveat I have not gone to these groups yet, but because of the scope of that economic development study and the potential impact that can have for us for the next 10 years, we thought it was appropriate to go to those economic development organizations and request funding from that. And so we have broken down preliminarily, IDA will go and request $10,000 from the Industrial Development Authority, and then the Washington Civic Industrial Corporation, $5,000 from them. And that is how we would get it paid for under this budget. So for tonight, it does say on here, send to council. We're going to table it off of your agenda tonight. We're going to kind of make sure the contract is exactly how we need it. We're going to take it to planning and zoning actually Monday as well at their meeting. But tonight I just wanted to let you know where we're at, let you know that we do have a subcommittee behind us who has reviewed this as well, members of the Planning and Zoning Commission. And if there's no major concerns, what we'd like to do on April 18th, bring back a budget amendment for the increase, as well as a contract with H3 Studios.
Yeah, Piontek had some items that he wanted us to go ahead and review yet, and he got those to us late last week, so that's the reason, another reason why we wanted to go ahead and table it until your next meeting. But we wanted Sal to go ahead and do the presentation for you tonight so you can understand how we got to this point and why we're ready to go with H3.
Are there any questions or comments?
Sal, you got a lot of detailed information there. Is there anything that the committee decided to leave off, that not to pursue, not to dive into, or are we covering everything we think we ever will need in this one study?
So the scope is, you're right, is pretty wide, which is what we wanted, to really cover every department's needs, and from infrastructure to economic development. This was not the most expensive version of H3's proposal. This could go up. There are, really when it comes down into mapping in the final document, I mean, we could have them create its own website that this comp plan can live on that is really complicated and you can click through and it's interactive map. That got up to like 150,000. So we've kind of broke this down. I think it was 154 when we started with them, and we've gotten down to this 134.
And there's also focus areas that they told us that they could go ahead and study on. So for example, if you wanted to really focus in on, say, Fifth Street, or you wanted to go ahead and look at an area out on the highway or whatever that's under development, those are extras, and we did not include those.
Yeah, it's typically $5,000 per focus area, not including downtown. Downtown's kind of, every community is going to study their downtown, but if you wanted to focus on other areas, it's an additional $5,000. Like Darren said, we've talked about just very briefly, if you want to go focus on an area on the highway, maybe there's a private developer who'd like to go in with that. We can amend that later if we wanted to add focus areas.
It's kind of how I was going to get to. I mean, you talked about the specific gentleman who's going to do for 47, but I mean, Highway 100 is no doubt where our next development is coming from, whether it's east or west or whatever. I guess that's kind of what I was, is there a specific there that we're going to get into, or you're saying that's going to be an additional cost?
No, that's,
No, any of that?
that's
included?
They're studying that as part of it.
Okay.
And it's not just a transportation, in the scope, it's not just transportation needs in our existing city limits. They're going to look at our projected growth and how far our city limits may grow and what needs we may need to the transportation network. In their presentation, they pulled up our last transportation, that map I showed last month with all the red lines of where our future roads would be, and kind of said, what could change from this, what could we even grow out from, that kind of thing. So they know to look at beyond our city limits.
Thanks.
Now, you started by saying in the past, and you gave the years and the different studies that were done in the past. Could you, when you bring it back, could you bring along with that, what did all those components cost us last time? I don't expect.
I know our comp plan was, did you tell me it's 50 last time?
Close to that, I would have to say. But you paid, the city has done not just comprehensive plans. The city has completed, they had one focus group that was just strictly on the riverfront, if you'll remember. Unfortunately for that, there was a lot of unfunded projects that we had there because there just was not enough funding to go around to go ahead and do all of those things. That's one example. You had an example where we had an updated transportation one done in the mid-90s that just kind of focused on the Highway 100 corridor. You had another one that you paid dearly for design on the East-West Parkway roadway back in the mid to late 90s that we still utilize today. So you've had different types of them that you've had. You also had one, I know, for the downtown revitalization plan. I think that one was closer to $100,000 at the time, and that was done, and it was prior to Mayor Lucy. That was when Dick Stratman was mayor.
Right.
Yeah, there was one done in 2004 before that 2011.
Correct.
And I will say, I mean, it's not like they were wasted documents. They were utilized. Actually, the 2004 one, if you go back, it pretty clear about what you should do with your front street, and I think we've really met those goals. Actually,
Yeah.
One of the firms that put that together was in town and said, wow, you guys really followed that plan. So we have a good track record of following it. We were just trying to, instead of breaking it down into 3 or 4 plans, because I know we need a workforce one, we need to update our economic development strategy, why not put this into one package?
And I agree that we use these items,
Absolutely.
A lot of people like to think that we just put them on the shelf, but we pull those things out all the time. And long-range planning, just how downtown has changed and how Front Street has changed and, how the riverfront has changed over the last 30 years. I mean,
Correct.
Yeah.
it's always nice to have people come in and see things that we don't see. Any other comments or questions?
Wow, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Sal.
Report of department heads, Engineering Department, High Street Reconstruction and ADA Improvement Project, STP 4940608.
John?
Okay, good evening, Council. Part of the ADA transition plan, which we paid for a few years ago, it identified areas within town that we are not ADA compliant on. ADA required in the early 90s for us to have a transition plan in place to take our sidewalks, facilities, things that are not ADA compliant, and come up with a plan about how we make them ADA compliant. Well, as you can imagine, there's some significant amount of sidewalks in town that we cannot overcome. So we have to rely on 80/20 STP grants, which we leverage our local transportation sales tax on. Those dollars actually are developed from the gas tax, the federal gas tax. So the way it works is you put gas in obviously your vehicle, fuel in your vehicle, you get taxed on that, that money goes to Washington DC, then we are required to fight for that money back, to bring back to us. Not required, but we choose to do that. So we've been pretty successful with that. This project would redo High Street from 5th Street to Front Street. It's got an asphalt overlay component to it, new sidewalks, new curb and gutter along the corridor. We are estimated at $1,193,750. Again, 80/20, so our portion of that would be approximately $238,750. Again, pretty small peanuts in the overall cost of that project. Some examples: High Street was done with 80/20 grants. Bush Creek Greenway, get you a sidewalk to the school campus. We have 3rd Street coming up. Jefferson Street's is going to be redone here. So you really see a pretty small investment from the local sales tax, somewhere around $1.2 million to have brand new streets in the next basically 6-8 years. So it's a pretty good program that we are able to get competitive grants on. So all this does is it's the agreement with MoDOT that will follow through with our portion of the project. 2025 construction anticipated.
Any questions or comments?
Keep moving on.
All right. I guess we need to,
Move it on to the council.
okay.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Holtmeyer, seconded by Padkey, to send this item on to council. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? By your vote, you've sent it on. Thank you.
High Street Extension Project.
Okay, at the last council meeting, there was a preliminary plat, I think, approved, High Street extension, essentially to the Marquardt Farm to the south. It's about 700 feet extended to that parcel of property. That is, again, on the city's comprehensive plan. It also ties the Autumn Leaf subdivision into High Street. If you're aware, Autumn Leaf has well over 60 homes, I believe. I think it's well over 60. That goes to Highway A, congestion, Highway A, Studerman Road, those things. Provides a secondary access in and out, which again is on the city's comp plan. It would also provide a water line extension into that subdivision. Right now, water is served from one location. It does have some fire flow issues, so it would solve that as well. So again, by us leveraging those 80/20, we can utilize our local sales tax dollars to pay for some of these type of projects. So this is the design contract, $23,750 with Wunderlich Survey and Engineering. It would get that roadway designed in coordination with the developer who is required to build the connection. If all goes well, we could be under construction maybe fall-ish. So we could move pretty quick on something like this.
John, were there any other bids on this one?
There wasn't. We actually did not go out to get qualifications from others. It's a qualification-based system because it's professional service. We chose to actually go with the consultant that's doing the adjacent work because there's a lot of coordination that goes into it. So they already did a lot of the surveying. We saw some of that benefit, so we did not do that. They were essentially the most qualified to work through that. On a separate one, the Rabbit Trail potential connection, there is an RFQ, a request for qualifications, out for that one because again, there's no consultant coordination with that. That's just through us.
Okay, any comments or questions regarding the High Street extension?
Motion, moving on.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Holtmeyer, seconded by Padkey, to send this item on to council. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? By your vote, you've sent it on. Thank you.
Lions Lake Walking Path Improvements Project.
Okay, this project is in conjunction with the Parks Department. So the 2021, and Wayne's here too, but 2021 fair revenue to the city was approximately $32,000. That's the money that the city gets back per the contract.
It's actually higher than that, it was 38.
I'm sorry.
That's
Sorry.
okay.
That's a remaining balance.
That's a balance, you're right.
Is what's left is 32,000 from that. So thank you, Darren, for that. So we did just receive a bid for the Bush Creek Greenway, which is essentially the same type of project. It's a walking path, same type of thing. So I asked Darren, and Wayne and I discussed about what we could use that $32,000 for. That would really ideally be of use of the fair and actually the park system in general. So one of the projects that we were getting some, or one of the areas that we were getting some concerns about was the condition of the Lions Lake walking path, especially on the dam itself. There are multiple trip hazards in that area. We've received complaints last year, quite a bit actually. So we tried to patch those things in. This would actually create that a concrete ADA compliant walking path on the dam itself only. Again, a lot of people walk into the fair for that, so it makes a little bit of sense there. It would also then be the catalyst for next year's budget to replace all the asphalt walking paths that have not been replaced in quite some time. So we have the proposal for that's $31,680. The Parks Department, in conjunction with maybe some others, will be doing a tear out of that asphalt path to keep those costs as low as we could. And then we would also be backfilling that path once it was built. We have to coordinate when that's going to get constructed yet. I'm not sure when everybody has time. We're hoping late April here, 1st of May. So we just kind of got to be patient on that schedule. But essentially, that's the revenue, what we got from the fair, investing back into, areas close to the fair and making things ADA compliant.
Any questions or comments?
Is that existing path 8 feet?
It is.
Oh, wow.
So,
It seems
yeah,
like
it's, ideally, we would make it a little wider, but we can't
Not on
widen the
the
dam.
dam,
So
yeah.
we're just going to put it right back where it is.
Yeah, we did have a number of complaints last year, and John and I actually went out there after we had one and looked at some of the cracks that people were complaining on that could be potential trip hazards. And he actually drew up an estimate for future budget to pave to redo the dam in concrete and then the trails and asphalt that I was using for budget numbers. So with this, next year, hopefully in FY '23, then we'll just be able to connect to the concrete on the dam and asphalt the rest of the trails around the lake.
Just able to get it that much quicker. And then, actually, I have to.
Do we need to
sorry.
send this one on?
Make a motion.
Yes.
Okay, we have a motion by Holtmeyer, seconded by Pettit, to send this item on to council. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? By your vote, you've sent it on. Thank you.
And then Kevin Hellman's here to give you a quick update on the airport. I'm going to use this time to
Thanks for
get
letting me move. Hello. Just an update, because it's come up in questions and comments. Our fuel truck will be delivered tomorrow.
All right.
It was loaded this afternoon, and I'm just going to give this to you. You guys can pass it around. They are very apologetic for being late, but components just couldn't get them in. They are about 28 days actually late of delivery date, but their components, our old truck has not been in service since it's been a month. We just don't feel it's safe to hook up to these type of aircraft. But we should be in service by the end of the week. I just wanted to give you an update.
That's awesome. What are you
That's
going to do
great
with the old
news.
truck yet?
You want to buy it? I think we're going to move it. We're going to move it over to this wholesale or whatever you call it.
Purple.
Yeah, we'll purple wave it out.
Okay.
Yeah. What do you call it?
Purple wave is the
Oh.
online.
Okay. But I want to thank you guys for your foresight, and the future of the airport is very, very good for what you're adding.
All right. Well, thank you, Kevin.
Thank you, guys.
Parks Department, POW, MIA, city signage and maintenance.
Looks like a gas truck to me.
Yeah, I think I saw a picture of that. I think I saw this.
Evening, council. Excuse me. This is signage that goes in conjunction, I guess, back in January, I think it was 2020, we had, the mayor had a proclamation when the city became a POW city. And this is, the city has been working with the VFW and Terry Sullentrop to get signage installed at the entrances to the city. I went to the POW ceremony in September with Mayor Lucy, and Mr. Sullentrop approached the mayor about getting this sign posted. I happened to be working with MoDOT on a what I thought was going to be a very small project at the time, another sign project, and this turned into a much bigger project than I expected. Who knew there was so much to do about signs at the entrances to the city? Long story short, the county, the city, and John, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not totally familiar with all these sign things with MoDOT, but the city has so many agreements with MoDOT, and I know like one of them is a sign that says the Sister City sign is an agreement that the city has with MoDOT. I think the Purple Heart may be one too, and then I think the county has their agreement / city agreement for the POW county sign that's in place that you see at the entrances where you come in from a different county into Washington or into Franklin County. This would be a POW city sign, so this would be at our entrances to the city, the five entrances to the city. And so MoDOT needed the agreement signed, and that's what you have in front of you here.
Any questions or comments?
Make motion.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Holtmeyer, seconded by Pettit, to send this item on to council. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? By your vote, you've sent it on. Thank
It was
you.
nice that MoDOT showed you how to dig a 3-foot hole to put that signpost in there.
Yeah. A lot of
Washington
lot of
Soccer
information.
Academy?
This is a lease agreement with Washington Soccer Academy. Darren and myself have been working on this for many, many months, I think since late November when the fall season ended. Essentially, the Soccer Association came to the city and asked if the city would be interested in leasing those fields to the organization. Darren and I discussed it. I came up with some numbers. In the lease agreement would be a lease for 5 years. WSA would have the option, with the consent of the city, to extend it for 2 more separate additional periods of 5 years. This would include everything up there, so mowing, trimming, seeding, fertilization, filling low spots, cleaning the restroom, operating the concession stand, running the irrigation system, fixing the irrigation system, everything up there but the parking lot would be our responsibility in the trails. Trying to think.
They'll be in charge of marking the field?
Yes, they'd be in
Yes.
charge of marking the field. They started doing that already this year, a little bit last year, and then this year. So they've already been doing that themselves.
They are the primary users of the fields, obviously, or whatever. One of the things that this allows us to go ahead and do then is Wayne's department can go ahead, the Parks Department can save on, man hours, material, et cetera. I asked him to give me, a report back on the cost of what we would go ahead and save. It's approximately $25,000 a year that we'll save. We'll lose the revenue from them, what they would rent the fields, but the cost of what we put back into that to get those fields ready and prepared. And a lot of times, they want them prepared at a different level than what we're able to go ahead and do as a department. So really, it puts the burden back on them to go ahead and keep the fields up to their specs and what they want. So there is availability, though, for other entities to go ahead. We still have the Midway soccer field that's up there, so if there's other entities that choose to want to go ahead and rent the fields, et cetera, or reserve them for whatever reason, or if it's not to reserve them, if they just want to have a pickup game, whatever, that's where we would probably send them more likely up there. They're still going to go ahead and deal with Cross Point, I think, is one of the other users of the fields, and so they may go ahead and be theirs, they may go ahead and still, they're going to work with them to go ahead and ensure that they've got access to those fields. I don't know how many games, but they don't play near as many as
Yeah, it's
Washington
a
Soccer Academy.
handful, and they've already been working with them for this current year.
Yeah.
Yeah, we put the goals, I think before the fair last year, we had the goals up on Midway and we took them off and then we never brought them back. I think at one point WSA might have been interested in using those goals for something, but they didn't. And then we just put them out again recently, a couple weeks ago, and the second day after they were up there, there was a father and a daughter up there kicking the soccer ball around up on Midway. So, but it does look, this lease agreement does look to save the city about $25,000 in labor and material costs throughout the year, and that's probably a conservative number, considering we have some of our more skilled employees up there doing the work with the irrigation and some of the sod and turf, putting down chemicals and things like that. So it would save us a good deal of money. It allows them to kind of do what they need to do up there when they need to do it. And, sometimes we have a lot of other tasks going on during the summer. Because now what's different in the last few years is they start a spring session too. So they're essentially using the fields like 10 months a year instead of just in the fall, September through Thanksgiving. Now they're using it between two different leagues, a spring league and a fall league, and then they got summer camps in the middle, and then practices kind of throughout even the summer going into the early fall. It allows them to do what they need to do when they need to do it and kind of how they want to do it.
So is their payment to us is, like the lease agreement, is it in-kind house services that they're going to take care of the field?
Correct. That's the gist of it.
They are planning a renovation. We've done a lot, and since I've been here the last 3 years, we've done a lot of work up there at the soccer fields. And the field that needs the attention the most right now is Field 2, so that field closest to all abilities has some low spots, some grading issues and things like that. And so they proposed in their letter of intent to regrade that field, fill in all the low spots, get it level, resod it, do any work to the irrigation that needs to be done to get that field kind of in the shape that they want it. And they estimated that price at $58,000. So
This process kind of all started with them wanting to have a longer soccer season, and then coinciding with, like Wayne said, our employees trying to fix the fields, and then they're trying to have games at the same time. Closing one field down didn't suit them. It's kind of all stemmed through many meetings and many decisions, I guess you could say. But it kind of was a compromise, and then they kind of came with the idea, and through Park Board, I know these guys did more than I did, but it wasn't just a spare of the moment decision. This has been months and months of figuring out what works best. And Wayne and I have had a lot of conversations. I think I know some people have asked, are they going to keep the park like we keep the park? But I think, like Wayne, we just talked last week, our parks office is a block away. We're going to see what they do. If they're not doing things right, there's a spot in the lease agreement where we can, hold them to the correct improvements that they're doing, that kind of thing too. So, again, I think it's a good thing. We've been through a lot, but they use the fields, not primarily, almost exclusively, really, except for a few cross-point games. So it's really not, there's really no change, I guess you could say, as far as who uses the field. They're just going to take care of it, stripe it when they want, fix it when they want, that kind of thing. So it really works out that way.
yeah, our shop's right down the hill, and to get to football and baseball, we have to drive by those soccer fields to do maintenance on the other fields. So we're going to be seeing, what's going on up there all the time. So, like I said, we will have responsibility. The city's responsibility is the parking lot and the light infrastructure and replacing the bulbs and things up there and paying for the electric. So.
And we'll have parking lot maintenance still. We've added on to the parking lot, and that will still keep that. So, eventually that'll be an issue of paving and something like that. That's not going to be on them. But
and then all the trails are getting paved this spring. The majority of them up there are getting paved. John mentioned it a while ago, this spring. So.
Any other questions or comments?
Yeah, I have just one. Who's going to pay the electric for the fields? Is the city going to pay that? or-
The city is paying electric, sewer, and water.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion.
We have a motion by Pat Key, seconded by Holtmeyer, to send this item on to council. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? By your vote, you have sent it on. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Wayne.
Police Department, purchase of new patrol vehicles.
Evening, esteemed council. You have a letter here for me for proposal to purchase 3 patrol vehicles, 2 Ford Interceptor utility SUVs, and 1 F-150 police responder 4x4 truck, and then also for the equipment necessary to make them road ready. All the total is $158,348.14. It is under budget by $29,384.86.
This wasn't included in our enterprise lease either?
This is not.
We have not included any of the police ones on the enterprise lease yet.
Enterprise is still looking into how they will lease police vehicles.
Okay.
They have never done that before. We have, to order these vehicles, if I would go out and order them, it's a 30-plus week time before you get them for a police vehicle. Right now, those 2 SUVs, 2022s, are in, waiting for us, and the Ford F-150 is in. So they're all there. We just need your approval, and we go get them.
Chief, do we still have that little truck?
We do not. That went to maintenance.
Okay.
And this truck will be used on the road as a patrol vehicle. We've looked at other cities that have done this. Union has had a truck for a couple years. They loved it. They love what they can do with it. We've held off getting a truck to see what changes they make in them, what things they might add or whatever. So, but now we want to decide to try and get a truck and see how it operates.
And these 2 cars replaced 2 others?
Cars replace 2 SUVs that have, well, they replace actually 2 Impalas. We're getting away from all the old Impalas and getting them gone because they are 13s, 14s, 12s.
Chief, what are you going to have, like a rat pack in the bed?
In the bed will be some type of toolbox and then possibly a pack, but it's going to be set up so we can use it for evidence hauling, for light hauling. It's 4x4, so if we have to go in the field for an evidence issue, it can be equipped with the equipment it needs to collect evidence. It will have a half cage instead of a full cage, so we can stick a prisoner in it. That opens up the back half of the seat for officer to put equipment in. But the setup will be the same as a patrol vehicle with the gun rack, the radios, the radars, the camera, everything else. It's just now a truck patrol vehicle. And it's made as a police responder because it has this extra suspension, the large radiator, covers better idling. It has an EcoBoost, which is more expensive, but it gets you better gas mileage, all those good things.
Any other questions or comments?
Make a motion. Send it on.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Holtmeyer, seconded by Hydrich, to send this item on to council. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? By your vote, you've sent it on. Thank you.
Council?
Purchase of new patrol vehicle equipment.
And that was just covered here also. That price of the vehicles, to outfit them with the equipment they need, that we outfit every vehicle every year. We do changeovers, replacements, upgrades, and some new equipment. So that is ready for road package is $43,383.14. That's included in the total of all 3 vehicles, the $158,000.
Would that still be with Mr. Dolan?
That will be the VIP,
So different.
VIP technologies.
Why are we switching contractors for that? Is there a reason?
Well, they can do them through Dolan, but we go directly to VIP. Dolan does work with them to outfit, but we choose to go directly through VIP.
Any other questions or comments?
Same thing.
Okay.
Second.
We have a motion by Holtmeyer, seconded by Patke, to send this item on to council. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? By your vote, you've sent it on. Thank you.
Council.
St. Louis Coalition for Roadway Safety Grant.
This is a grant I just need approval from council to proceed with. This is for a 100% match, 100% grant, so that they pay 100% on this for a total station at a price of $41,762. A total station is used in major accident and crime scene investigation. The total station will give me a diagram set up of the accident and the area and recreate that accident and put vehicles where they are, so I can do that all through mapping. It will help me with causes of accident. If the case goes to court for manslaughter charges or goes to court in lawsuit, we have all this information. We are able to get the 100% because we also share the total station with Union, every municipality in the county. We work together. We have gone to Union to help them with major accidents and fatality accidents. We've gone to St. Clair so that we cooperate together. Our commitment to the manpower is to be there to help investigate. They handle the report writing investigation. Likewise, if they come here, they help with the operation and recording of information, but we handle the case. So, but I just need your approval to proceed to apply for that grant.
There's no other questions, I'll make a motion.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Hydridge, seconded by Pettit, to send this item on to council. Nope, actually to approve it. So we have a motion to approve. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? By your vote, you've approved the item. Thank you.
Council.
Thank you, Chief.
Water Wastewater Department, South Point Groundwater Storage Tank.
Okay, Kevin?
Good evening, Council. What you have before you is a proposal for the new groundwater storage tank. We're calling it the South Point Groundwater Storage Tank out off of South Point Road. It is a proposal with Cochran Engineering. The tank out there is going to complement the 500,000 gallon tank that we have on the east side of town. That is all we have on the east side of town. We've got 2 million on the west end, 500,000 on the east end, so it's going to complement that. So this is our proposal for a design and build of the tank. So just looking for your approval to proceed with that so we can see what it's going to cost to build.
Will this one be a 1 million, this one?
Yes, yes. It'll look kind of like the Clay Street tank. It'll be about the same size and everything as the Clay Street tank, so.
I'll make a motion to send it on.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Hydridge, seconded by Pettit, to send this item on to council. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? By your vote, you sent it on. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin.
Done enough time.
I'm sorry?
I was telling her not enough time to go in executive.
Yeah.
We have to do it after the regular.
Is there anything else? I don't think. Okay, so we'll entertain a motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Patke, seconded by Holtmeyer to adjourn the meeting. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you. Be back in about 5 minutes. How are you, Mark? I'm good.
You know, this thing they're doing with health.
Holtmeyer.
Here.
Patke.
Here.
Pettit.
Here.
Reed.
Yep.
Scornia.
Here.
Solentrup.
Here.
Wessels.
Here.
Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
One nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Will all the council members answer if they have or have not read the minutes of the council meeting dated March 21st, 2022? Heidrich?
Aye.
Holtmeyer?
Aye.
Patke?
Aye.
Pettit?
Aye.
Reed?
Aye.
Scornia? Solentrup? Wessels?
Aye.
Having read the minutes, are there any questions or comments?
If not, I'll make a motion.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Heidrich, seconded by Patke, to approve the minutes from our last meeting dated March 21, 2022. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? By your vote, you approve the minutes. Thank you.
Approval and adjustment of agenda, including the consent agenda. You have the collector's report summary for October 2021, the investment report summary for October 2021, stormwater improvement fund funding at reallocation, change order number 1 and final payment requests for 2022 Snap Tight Culvert Lining Project, and we are tabling item 7A on the ordinance.
Oh. Okay, are there any questions or comments regarding the items on the consent agenda?
Make a motion.
Second.
We have a motion by Solentrup, seconded by Holtmeyer, to approve the items on the consent agenda. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? By your vote, you approve the items. Thank you.
Priority items, Patriotic Service Awards.
Council, it's my privilege to present some awards tonight from the state of Missouri, Missouri National Guard. Would following individuals come forward, please? Captain James Armstrong, Officer Paul Pfeiffer, Officer Ben Juergens, Officer Charles Shear, and Officer Zach Yowitz. So these awards are provided by the Missouri National Guard. They are Veterans Recognition Program Awards. They're given for specific time periods of service in the military for individuals during time of war. They do them for World War I up to present. And it's my privilege to have before us these 5 gentlemen who have served in the military service. And they're recognized for their service in Desert Storm for 2 of them, and for 3 of them in Operation Iraqi Freedom. They will receive a medal tonight and a lapel medal and a medallion. They'll receive in the packet for each of them personalized letter from Governor Parsons for their commitment to duty and the service they've given, and also from the Adjutant General of the Missouri National Guard for the same. And it's served to an active duty with honorable discharge individual. That's all of these. So there are certificates for each of them. They're going to read them off and present to you your medals. So.
Okay. So I have a question.
Specialist, right?
SPC is specialist. Sorry. We have to clue in.
Okay.
Okay, so our first one goes to Specialist James Albert Armstrong, United States Army.
Oh.
Given on behalf of the state of Missouri and the United States of America for your bravery, selfless service, and dedication in serving our country during the Gulf War. Signed by Michael L. Parson, Governor, and John R. Ashcroft, Secretary of State.
Thank you, Jim.
Okay, our next one is, I bet that's Master Sergeant. Is that,
You got it.
do I have that
Master
right?
Sergeant.
Okay. Master Sergeant Paul Jeffrey Pfeiffer, United States Air Force, given on behalf of the state of Missouri and the United States of America for your bravery, selfless service, and dedication in serving our country during the Gulf War. Signed, Michael L. Parson, Governor, and John R. Ashcroft, Secretary of State. Okay. Sergeant?
Sergeant.
Okay, so the next one is Sergeant, I'm getting good, you know, Sergeant Benjamin Lewis Juergens, United States Army, given on behalf of the state of Missouri and the United States of America for your bravery, selfless service, and dedication in serving our country during the Gulf War. Signed, Michael L. Parson, Governor, and John R. Ashcroft, Secretary of State.
This medal is for...
This one is, oh, got the wrong one here.
Oh, you're fine.
Is it okay? He's next. Okay. Okay. Sorry. Okay, Specialist, right?
You got it.
Okay, Specialist Charles James Shear, United States Army, given on behalf of the state of Missouri and the United States of America for your bravery, selfless service, and dedication in serving our country during the Gulf War. Signed, Michael L. Parson, Governor, and John R. Ashcroft, Secretary of State. Okay. And Sergeant Zachary William Yowitz, United States Army, given on behalf of the state of Missouri and the United States of America for your bravery, selfless service, and dedication in serving our country during the Gulf War. Signed, Michael L. Parson, Governor, and John R. Ashcroft, Secretary of State.
Could Detective Sergeant Steve Seitz, Detective Mike Wisbaum, and Officer Cody Lewis step forward? Or Cody Boone, pardon me, step forward. Cody Boone. These individuals also served in our U.S. military. The times they served were not fit within the awards medals, but I wanted them to be recognized for their service. We have United States Marines.
Mine did. I just didn't turn my DT.
You didn't turn you in.
I was in during the first call.
Mike Wisbaum, Detective, United States Marine Corps.
Yes.
Cody Boone, Officer, United States Marine Corps. Detective Steve Stites, U.S. Air Force. Thank you for your service.
Mayor's Unit Citation Award.
So we also have a unit citation award for the Washington Police Department Detective Division. And I believe they are here. Come forward. Yeah, come on, guys.
Steve Sykes, Detective Betsy Schultz, Detective Eric Dolan, Detective Mike Wisbaum, step forward.
Hi. Okay, so kind of that way, or whatever. Okay, so tonight we have a City of Washington Mayor's Unit Citation awarded to the Washington Police Department Detective Division. Lieutenant Darrell Balladeer, Detective Sergeant Steve Seitz. Oh, gosh. Yeah, all right, here you are. Okay. Detective Sergeant Steve Seitz, Detective Michael Wisbaum, Detective Betsy Schultz, and Detective Eric Dobelman. Since January 2021, the Detective Division has handled a large caseload of major crimes due to an increase in crime. Their commitment and endeavors to solving those crimes and bringing perpetrators to justice is exemplary. The exceptional investigative abilities of the detectives of the Detective Division has resulted in a high clearance and prosecution rate for crimes they investigated. The professionalism and persistence of the Detective Division has brought such good results. Each detective has an area of investigative expertise and excels in it. They operate as a team and for the common mission of the department to serve our citizens and bring forward justice. Such commitment, service, professionalism, investigative ability, and purpose is meritorious and deserving of note. Your dedication to maintaining a high level of professionalism, performance, and commitment to our community is worthy of praise. Signed, Sandy Lucy, Mayor, dated April 4, 2022.
I could make one comment. They investigate a lot of cases. Some cases are kind of hard to handle. A recent child molestation abuse case was handled. It's been 2 years. They did 4 years. They did a lot of investigative work, a lot of interrogation interview. It went to trial last week for 4 days. Mr. Schneider was found guilty on all 5 counts and now faces a lengthy prison sentence. So that's due to their work and an excellent prosecutor they had too. So congratulations to them.
Mayor's presentations, appointments, and reappointments, Arbor Day Proclamation.
Okay, so who's here? Wayne? Could this be my, 12th one of these I've read, or, I might have it memorized. Okay, so once again, we are receiving the Arbor Day Proclamation, and within this proclamation, it does note that we have received this proclamation for 17 years, which is really a long time, and as a compliment to our Parks Department, to our city, to having Josh on the staff, I know as well, because you know so much about trees. So anyway, but once again, we're going to be reading the Arbor Day Proclamation, City of Washington, Missouri. Arbor Day. Whereas in 1872, J. Sterling Morton proposed to the Nebraska Board of Agriculture that a special day be set aside for the planting of trees. And whereas this holiday, called Arbor Day, was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska. And whereas Arbor Day is now observed throughout the nation and the world. And whereas the Tree City USA program, sponsored by the National Arbor Day Foundation, provides direction, technical assistance, public attention, and national recognition for urban and community forestry programs in thousands of towns and cities that more than 93 million Americans call home. And whereas the City of Washington has been a tree city for the past 17 years. And whereas trees can reduce the erosion of our precious topsoil by wind and water, cut heating and cooling costs, moderate the temperature, clean the air, produce oxygen, and provide habitat for wildlife. And whereas trees are a renewable resource giving us paper, wood for our homes, fuel for our fires, and countless other wood products. And whereas trees in our city increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of business areas, and beautify our community. And whereas trees, wherever they are planted, are a source of joy and spiritual renewal. Now therefore I, Sandy Lucy, Mayor of the City of Washington, do hereby proclaim April 23, 2022 as Arbor Day in the City of Washington, and urge all our citizens to support efforts to protect our trees and woodlands and to support our city's urban forestry program by planting trees to gladden the heart and promote the well-being of present and future generations. Signed, Sandy Lucy, Mayor, City of Washington, Missouri. There you go. Thank you.
So on Friday, I accepted the city's award, our 17th consecutive year of being a Tree City USA city. We were the first city in Franklin County to get that designation. I think since, I know Union and maybe one other place have it. Josh compiles a lot of all the records that go into this award for the city. It's things like how many trees we plant, how many removals we have, tree pruning, things like that. Once you become a Tree City USA, then that helps with different grants. There's grants through MDC that the city can apply for, and you get an extra percentage. You may get an extra percentage with that grant if you're a Tree City USA. So we have a couple signs around town. That's one of the sign projects I was working on that I kind of alluded to earlier when I was talking about the POW sign agreement. So Arbor Day is April 23rd this year. It'll be from 10 to 11:30 at Crestview Water Tower Park. And we'll be planting a couple trees and removing honeysuckle and doing a just general cleanup. So encourage you guys to come out. Thank you.
National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week Proclamation.
Okay, do we have our telecommutation? Why don't you go to this side? Okay. Seems to work better. Hey, how are you? Okay. Okay, so April 10th through the 16th is the National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week. And tonight we're going to be reading a proclamation for those in attendance and for all of our folks that are helping us to keep everyone safe during, can't think of my word here, so during a whatever emergency. There we go, whatever emergency there is. And you guys are there all the time. So anyway, I was thinking phone calls. So anyway, okay. So we have a mayor's proclamation, City of Washington, Missouri, National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week, April 10 through 16, 2022. Whereas emergencies can occur at any time that require police, fire, or emergency medical services, and whereas when an emergency occurs, the prompt response of police officers, firefighters, and paramedics is critical to the protection of life and preservation of property. And whereas the safety of our police officers and firefighters is dependent upon the quality and accuracy of information obtained from citizens who telephone the Washington Communications Center. And whereas public safety telecommunicators are the first and most critical contact our citizens have with emergency services and are the single vital link for our police officers and firefighters by monitoring their activities by radio, providing them information, and ensuring their safety. And whereas public safety telecommunicators of the City of Washington have contributed substantially to the apprehension of criminals, suppression of fires, and treatment of patients. And whereas each dispatcher has exhibited compassion, understanding, and professionalism during the performance of their job in the past year. Now therefore I, Sandy Lucy, Mayor of the City of Washington, Missouri, do hereby proclaim April 10 through 16, 2022 as Telecommunicators Week in the City of Washington, Franklin County, Missouri, in honor of the men and women whose diligence and professionalism keep our city and citizens safe. In witness whereof I have hereunto set my hand and caused to be affixed the seal of the City of Washington, Missouri, this 4th day of April, 2022. Signed, Sandy Lucy, Mayor. Okay.
So I just wanted to thank everybody. As you all know, this is going to be my last National Telecommunicators Week. This is also my last council meeting. So with me tonight, Jennifer Bruni. Jennifer Bruni has officially accepted my position in my absence, so she will take it over on May the 3rd when I leave. With her is Amanda Spurgeon. Amanda has been a dispatcher with us for actually just over 14 years. She celebrated 14 years in February. So unfortunately, they were the only ones who could attend tonight. But so during National Telecommunicators Week, we're going to do some fun stuff over there. We're going to have some dinner one night and just kind of celebrate them for the week. So if you feel like popping in, please pop in. So thank you.
Thanks, Lisa.
Thank you, Lisa.
POW MIA City Proclamation.
Okay, so this has been going on for a while, and so if you remember, I mean, a long time ago, it was probably Bill Miller from the Missourian who came forward and wanted us to be the first city in Franklin County to be with the POW MIA recognition, and for some reason or somehow the county beat us to it at the time, which was fine. Anyway, and so Sully, your brother, Terry, got very involved in this, and he also is involved with the POW MIA, and so he really worked hard along with some of his cohorts and to get this proclamation. So this proclamation was given to us in September of 2021 at the POW MIA event, but they didn't have enough signs for us, and I felt like I didn't really want to be doing the proclamation until the signs would be up, because otherwise there'd be this big gap in the from start to finish. Who would have thought that it would take so long to get signs, and then to get permission to put signs, and then to figure out where the signs would go. So now we are here, almost a year later, and so we're going to read the proclamation tonight. And I am hoping to hang it in this spot right over here so that it does hang in our council chambers. So I'll go ahead and read it. It's a proclamation, POW MIA City Recognition. Whereas the City of Washington and the State of Missouri remains resolute that no American serviceman or servicewoman who can be recovered shall be knowingly left behind on the field of battle. And whereas the City of Washington holds the highest regards the sacrifices made by all American prisoners of war, POWs, who surrendered their freedom and endured great hardships in the defense of American liberties and values. And whereas on the date of this printing, the number of American missing in action, MIAs, from all U.S. wars stands at 81,674. And whereas the people of the City of Washington hold dear the sacrifice of all American servicemen and women who have given their lives with specific attention by this proclamation to those whose whereabouts still remain unknown. And whereas the City of Washington recognizes the POW MIA flag designed by Newt Heisley in 1972 as a symbol of our nation's concern and commitment to resolving as fully as possible the fates of Americans still prisoner, missing, and unaccounted for from all U.S. wars, thus ending the uncertainty for their families and the nation by finally providing closure. And whereas the homes and businesses of the City of Washington are encouraged to display the POW MIA flag when practical and appropriate in conjunction with the flag of the United States. And whereas the citizens of the City of Washington, with somber appreciation, extend their gratitude to all POW MIA family members who continue to carry the burden of their personal loss and offer encouragements that the fate and location of their missing loved ones will be made known again. Now therefore, by majority consent, the Jefferson Barracks POW MIA Museum Board of Directors does hereby proclaim the City of Washington as a POW MIA city, and encourages the citizens of the City of Washington to continue showing their appreciation for the sacrifices made by our nation's POWs and MIAs, along with their families, in the defense of American liberties and values. In witness whereof, this 17th day of September 2021, Paul Dillon, President, Jefferson Barracks POW MIA Museum. So, here we go. All clean under there.
Planning and Zoning Commission reappointments.
Okay, this evening we have two reappointments to the Planning and Zoning Commission. That would be Carolyn Witt and Mark Kleesner. Those terms ending in April of 2026. Any questions or comments?
I'll make a motion. Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Hydrich, seconded by Holtmeyer, to approve the reappointments of Carolyn Witt and Mark Kleesner to the Planning and Zoning Commission. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? By your vote, you approve the appointments. Thank you.
Police Department appointment.
Calvin? Bras, right? Bros. You go by bros. Okay, Calvin.
Rose.
Council, I have for your approval an appointment to a full-time police officer, Calvin Bros. Calvin comes to us from Cape Girardeau Police Department area, where he has served there 7 years. We're happy to have a veteran like him here. He has gone through all the testing and shown himself to be a worthy candidate and a person we would want to serve the City of Washington and its citizens, and will be a definite benefit to our department. He's expressed the desire to be a police officer with us and to do his job and his duty to our citizens and the city. So I request his approval. It's a full-time officer, City of Washington. His appointment starting April 4th to October 4th, which will be his first 6 months.
Okay. Are there any questions or comments?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Patke, seconded by Hydrich, to approve the appointment of Police Officer Calvin A. Bros, who will be appointed April 4 through October 4 for his first 6 months. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? By your vote, you approve the appointment. Welcome aboard. Thank you. Okay.
I just want to say thank you to everybody, and I'm excited to be here.
Okay, well, I think you'll find that you're really joining a terrific police force, and Washington is a wonderful community, so welcome
That's what I
aboard.
hear, so.
Okay,
Thank you, guys.
thank you.
Thank you.
Police Department reappointments.
Council, I have 2 recommendations for reappointments. Patrol Officer Melinda Schmeltz, effective date April 8th, 2022 to April 8th, 2023, and Patrol Officer Cody Boone, date effective April 17th, 2022 to April 17th, 2023. Both officers provide exceptional service to our city. They are exemplary in the things they do. I am proud to have them as officers on our department and working for our city, and I know our citizens are proud of them. So I would recommend you approve their reappointment.
Okay. So we'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Patke, seconded by Hydrich, to approve the reappointments of Police Officer Melinda Schmeltz and Police Officer Cody Boone, and both of those terms would be for 1 year. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? By your vote, you approve the reappointments. Thank you.
Thank you for not firing me.
Thank you, Cody.
Thank you very much. I do appreciate this opportunity. It's a great town, great department.
Just to let you know, he helped bring Calvin here too, by the way.
Yeah, good deal.
Good
All right.
recruitment. Good job. buddy.
Yeah, good deal. All right, thank you.
Treasurer, collector, deputy treasurer, assessor, reappointments.
Okay, so this is our annual reappointment of Mary Sprung as our treasurer slash collector, and Darren Lamb as the deputy treasurer slash assessor. Both of those terms would end in April of 2023. Any questions or comments?
I make a motion.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Holtmeyer, seconded by Hydrich, to approve the reappointments of Mary Sprung as the treasurer collector and Darren Lamb as the deputy treasurer slash assessor. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
By your vote, you approved the reappointment. Thank you.
Citizens' comments.
Is there anyone here who would like to address the council on any item that is not on the agenda? Okay.
Unfinished business, an ordinance authorizing and directing the execution of a dispatching services agreement by and between the City of Washington, Missouri and the City of Berger, Missouri.
Holtmeyer.
Introduced by Councilman Holtmeyer.
All right, so in your packet tonight, you have a ordinance and contract reestablishing our dispatching contract with Berger PD. They recently hired a new officer after the vacancy of their part-time officer. This officer will also be a part-time officer. He is currently full-time police officer with the Wright City Police Department. His name is Steve Tucker. He's actually been there for a couple of weeks already. They came in last Thursday, met Jennifer and I. We just kind of did a few things, and we'll be taking them over on a part-time basis, just like we were doing previously. So the last contract, if you'll remember, it went, we started in January of 2021, and then due to the illness of that police chief, he had to retire the end of May. So they've been looking for a part-time officer during this time frame, and so they now have him back, and he'll be doing, like I said, just a couple days a week, this similar as the last officer did.
So let me hear that again. He's an officer in Wright City.
He is.
Apparently lives in Berger.
Nope.
No.
Lives in Troy.
But he's going to go to Berger and be there.
Yes.
A couple days a week.
Couple days a week.
And that's their only officer in Berger?
It is. It is. So the way that we did it the last time is any calls that we receive for Berger, and just so you know, I had Jennifer look this up for me before she came over here. From January to the time that Trace retired, we did 43 activities for him. And that includes some of activities that he may not have been involved in, but maybe we received them when he was not on duty. So how we handle those is Franklin County actually responds to those.
Right.
And then we send him a notification saying, hey, just so you know, Franklin County handled this kind of a call in your city. So
if you get a call from Berger now,
uh-huh.
and he's not on duty,
Uh-huh.
you automatically have to dispatch Franklin County?
Yeah, so county, I know it's a little.
I just want to make sure that
Yeah.
we're not.
Yeah, so county gives us the information because they don't call in service. That officer's not going to call in service with Franklin County. So they don't know when the officer's on duty and not on duty.
Right.
So they'll call over, they'll say, hey, we have a call in Berger. We just simply say, we do not have a Berger officer on at this time, and Franklin County handles it. So.
Is this something similar to New Haven?
No, New Haven has full-time officers, day and night.
Okay.
So.
A lot different.
Yes, it is a lot different. So he'll be utilizing the New Haven Police Department radio frequency, which is what we did previously with the last officer. And it's better radio coverage for him. So, and we'll perform, his basic mules transactions, if he writes tickets and that kind of thing. There was one warrant that was issued through Gasconade County the last time, and we enter those warrants for them, if they have any.
So, okay, that's another question. Does Gasconade County ever, because part of Berger, it's in Franklin County, but
It's in Franklin
does he
County.
patrol anything in Gasconade County that's an issue?
No,
Okay.
no, no.
All right. If you're good with it, I am. I just want to make sure that's, if he's not there, then you got to ask Franklin County. That
Right,
seems a little
right.
crazy.
And they know that has been the arrangement, and they did not have problems with it the last time. So I don't think they get a whole lot of calls in.
No, but if they think
So-
someone's there,
Right.
does Franklin
right.
County patrol less? That makes a difference too. I mean, if that's far away from the edge of Franklin County.
It is. It is. I can tell you, working in dispatch one day, I actually took a 911 call for a gentleman who was in the city limits of Berger, and he needed an ambulance. But for some reason, the 911 was incorrect and got routed to us. And so I think that was actually Herman dispatched that ambulance.
Right.
So it was a little bit of a cluster, but.
Okay.
So,
good
any
for
other
the-
questions you might have?
Good for City of Berger,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, he seemed very nice. He's ex-military. He retired military, then went to the police academy, and is a full-time officer for Wright City. So,
Yep, good. Again, thank you for your service through
Thank
the
you.
years. Appreciate it.
thank you. Yeah, it's been great. So, not that I'm counting, but 27 days.
Oh,
And that does not include, that includes weekends.
Thank you, Lisa.
Anything else?
Happy retirement.
Thank you. Thank you, thank you.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Okay.
An ordinance authorizing and directing the execution of a dispatching services agreement by and between the City of Washington, Missouri and the City of Berger, Missouri. Patke,
yes.
Heidrich.
Aye.
Holtmeyer.
Aye.
Solentrup.
Yes.
Wessels. Scornia.
Yes.
Pettit.
Aye.
Reed.
Yep.
By your vote, you approve the ordinance. Thank you.
Report of Department Heads, 2022 Aquatic Complex Promotions.
Good evening, council. This park board, in response to some citizens that came to this meeting and different meetings, came up with a promotion for our pool passes this year. It's similar to the promotion we had last year. Last year's was a grand opening promotion. This is a similar discounts, $15 off the $100 20 visit value card, or visit pass, I should say, visit card. So from tomorrow until May 31st, you can get a 20 visit pass for $85 instead of the normal rate of $100. And then one other thing they thought would be beneficial for users this year would be to, on the punch cards or visit passes, last year they expired at the end of the year. For this fiscal year, they would be good for 22, so this pool season, and 23. So you'd have 2 years
You
to
can
use.
carry over.
Yeah, you can carry over the punches from 22 to 23.
Correct.
And then after 23, then we would revisit the passes again, so.
Just to clarify, would you sell the cards again next year, or if you want that discount, this is when you'd buy them?
The $15 discount? I don't know if we would do the discount again next year, so we made it last year, I believe, if I remember right, you could only purchase one at the discounted rate. This year, we made it unlimited.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea, and I'm glad to see them do it. But I would think the Parks Board could just do this. They had to bring this to.
You
No,
have
it's
fees.
just a FYI, really.
It is more an FYI, but you as a council approved the ordinance establishing the fees.
But this is a discount.
They did
So
discuss
it's not
it.
going,
Right.
it's not a.
They did discuss it at
ordinance.
length and
Sure.
figured out what was going to be the best, and
Sure, I
yeah.
would think they could, a promotional thing, they could just do it.
Yeah, because of I think the conversation that was at this meeting, I just wanted to make sure you guys were all aware of what was going on, so.
That way everybody's informed.
I'll let them know you think they're important, Mark.
Yes. Any other questions?
Okay, we'll entertain a motion to accept this item into the minutes.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Pettit, seconded by Patke to accept this item into the minutes. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? By your vote, you accepted the item. Thank you.
Downtown Washington Street Improvement Plan.
Okay.
Okay, good evening, council. Again, I'm going to pull this up here real quick so you can kind of see what this looks like. Okay. All right, so a few council meetings ago, or I think a few operations meetings ago, I gave you just a summary of what we're trying to accomplish downtown, our downtown streets. If you are aware, you might have seen some surveying work being done on 2nd Street. We're getting some design work completed to redo the pavers and curb and gutter, concrete, those type of things on those downtown streets. They're in pretty poor condition. They are not currently ADA compliant. In addition, you have a Front Street STP grant coming up soon as well. So it just seems like it makes sense. We would go from 2nd Street, hopefully late winter construction next year. That's the best time that we've determined to get this work done, because it will be pretty, it'll be a pretty big deal in that area. And then the year after, we would then transition to Main Street to do that work as well. If you're aware, there was a water main break on Main Street last week. Our valves and things in the vicinity do not hold, water valves do not hold. So we have to expand that out in order to get that work done. So it's just another one of those things that we need to invest in the infrastructure downtown in order to kind of prevent some of those things from happening. I worked with Downtown Washington. They actually were the ones that kind of prettied up my initial drawing. This is the document that we'll be utilizing to try to get the information out to the public on what's going on over the next few years. But it's a pretty big investment to that downtown area. Again, Front Street is an 80/20 STP. Main and 2nd are not. They're not eligible for STP grants, so we have to pay for those out of the Soda and Transportation Sales Tax. It is your highest pedestrian use area as well. So again, to reiterate, pavers similar to what you see on Jefferson to provide that kind of cohesive look. We will not have bump outs. Will not have bump outs. We will not have bump outs. We will not have bump outs. So keep that in mind, that there's no bump outs. So I can't say that enough. So it'll keep the aesthetics of that type of look. So Jefferson Street, you'll see that it's the same type of red brick, concrete look. We do not have bids back. Obviously, they're out to bid. They're getting designed right now. We are working with the situation that happened on Thursday. We're working with the various utility companies around town, Spire specifically, on trying to come up with a better way to make sure that their utility locates are accurate. In that specific situation, we had utility locates called in. We had I thought, a pretty good plan put together with the businesses. We notified all the businesses. We had a window there of the time of the day that was the least disruptive, and then we went to work and implemented that plan. Unfortunately, the locate for the gas line was on the wrong side of the street. That's not a city locate. That was done by Spire or one of their subcontractors. But rather than located on the south side of Main Street, or I'm sorry, on the north side of Main Street, they actually located it like 12 foot to the south side. So it's unavoidable situation for us, extremely dangerous for us. And there were a lot of areas evacuated in downtown while they got that fixed. They did get that fixed quickly. We were able to keep with our initial schedule of having water back on by noon. I think we hit it like 11:57, so that's good. And then our water sample did come back well, so we were able to open everything back up again. But it's important, it's kind of a segue to this plan, is that we're going to be working pretty hard with Spire to make sure that those situations don't happen again. It's kind of become a pattern of concern for the city. So if you have any questions on that, I just wanted to make you aware of this specific plan going into place here, and then we'll be working with those utility contractors throughout the city to make sure that those issues are minimized.
How come we didn't have a better locate on that? I mean, I know it's,
There's zero way that I can answer that question because we don't locate for Spire.
well,
what I'm getting at is when Spire put it in, they had to submit as-built drawings to the city.
Nope.
What do you mean, no?
We don't require as-built for gas lines. I have no idea where their gas lines are at in town.
Well, I think it's a good idea we did.
We don't. Spire doesn't give that information out due to their own policies. We don't have any idea where those are at. And since we don't locate third-party utilities for the reason of liability. That's what Missouri One Call does. That's what the individual locates responsibilities are per state statute to locate them correctly. So our water lines, we locate those.
Right.
City staff does. Our sewer line, we locate those, city staff does, and our storm sewer line. Those are the three utilities that we own, operate, maintain. We're required by state statute to locate those per one call. So when you put your ticket in, your communication lines, your Amerins, those are all third-party, third-party Public Service Commission utilities, and the city does not locate those, and we really don't have any idea.
I'm not trying to say the city is, but I mean, Spire located it supposedly on the wrong side of the street.
They did. They
John,
did.
did it not have a tracer wire in it?
I mean,
Did.
they have a tracer wire, yeah.
Did have a trace wire in it. Yep. That's why I'm so frustrated with the situation.
Well, yeah.
It's kind of scary.
It's
Well,
terrible.
and I guess
Outside my
and that
front
brings up my
door.
next question. So, Mark, maybe you can answer this. At what point does that locate company or Spire's subcontractor, and they're at fault, and we put our city workers at risk, at what point do we find litigation against them for that?
When somebody's been damaged as a result. And at least at this point, I don't think we've incurred any damages. The downtown people incurred some inconvenience and probably some lost revenue, but that would be their claim against Spire and not ours.
So someone would have to get hurt in order for this to be
Well,
anything else?
hurt or property damage, yeah.
We did communicate to Spire today, and I copied Karen, the fire chief, and Mark Scorney, emergency management, to get a copy of their incident action, or their incident report, basically, and then to get a meeting scheduled with their local supervisor, basically, to make sure that this does not happen again.
Right.
But again, city staff doesn't locate those. We rely on the locators.
No, I agree.
And the
You
owner of
have
those
to
utilities to
rely
make
on
sure it
that. I
doesn't
agree.
happen.
But it's just, if they had a tracer wire,
That's-
there shouldn't have been there's no.
Well, to that point, Dwayne, and I'm not going to claim I know anything like, I'm not going to do this, but they don't always use a tracer wire. They might go by their map instead. And their map, right, correct me if I'm wrong.
I did not see the maps, but there were reports that there were two maps in the same location, one had on one side of the road, one had on the other side. And then I looked in the hole and there's tracer wire there. So why the utility company didn't hook up to that tracer wire to get an as-built of that location is something I cannot answer.
And to my point, the negligence of the not using the tracer wire would be the reason, again, maybe not litigation, like I said, Mark, but they had an opportunity to use a tracer wire and they chose not to. And we put our people in a hole.
This is not the first time. We hit 3 gas lines on Oak Street, the same situation. There's actually a 6-inch main at Oak and 3rd that was not located in the area at all, a 6-inch main. This was a 2-inch, okay? That luckily we could feel the pressure on the backhoe and didn't pull it out of the ground. That was not located. So this is not a one-off. This
No,
is a
I
pattern.
understand, but I mean, they hold their locators responsible, I'm sure, but sounds like you got a wino on the locator to me.
You got a what?
A wino.
Oh, I didn't hear. So there's a wound up locator. Like, not really. I think it's actually the opposite. But.
The Spire, do they subcontract all their?
Yeah.
Yeah, USIC is, I think, their subcontractor, but, I mean, I haven't seen their contract, so I wouldn't know, but I'm pretty confident. And I don't know if that's a specific instance, but I'm pretty confident they do all their locating.
And John, you are right. We've hit, I don't know how many gas lines.
It's terrible.
My world's in, my lengthy time in the trades all over St. Louis. I mean, you do have, when they locate a line, you're responsible still 3 foot of each side. 3 foot. If you hit it beyond that, then it's on them.
Correct.
If you hit it in that, it's on you.
Correct.
But it happens.
This is all the way across the street.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, I just want you to know, though, yeah, you're responsible for 3 foot on each side of the line, but still, but.
Either way, we're very fortunate nobody got hurt.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, and I would also like to add that, I mean, obviously it was right in my front yard. And I walked out that morning to check it out, and there wasn't a person in sight. And I'm like, wonder what's going on here. And then I smelled gas, and I'm like, oh, I think we have a problem.
Cigarette?
Yeah, fortunately, I didn't bring my cigarettes out. So anyway, but the good news was, I mean, everyone who was involved immediately went into emergency mode. Our operators knew what to do. Our street individuals knew what to do. I mean, everybody knew what to do. John was there. Mark was there. The fire department showed up. It was a beehive of professional activity, and I think we should all be very proud of our team, multiple teams that were on the scene that morning, making sure that everything went well. And we eventually evacuated my mom, and that was quite the ordeal too. The fire department carried her down the stairs in a wheelchair, but it was, it was quite everyone was on it, and they knew what they were doing, and certainly made it easier to go through the process knowing that there were professionals operating at every turn. It was, so kudos to our team.
I would just say, unfortunately, we became really good at this over the past couple of years, and it's frustrating.
Yeah.
So we're working on that.
Yeah.
John, is there going to be pavers at the intersection of Cedar and Second?
That's the concept.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Both options.
Everything you see, and it's hard to see on this map, but everything you see there in the dots, those are essentially paved.
Stars.
Yeah, stars. Sorry, I can't even see. Yeah. So more to come with the locate situation, but. And then I had one other thing. It's eluding me. Apologize. Sorry, can't think of what it is.
Next meeting.
Well, John, I did want to give our crew some credit, because even though we ran into that issue with Spire, the level of specificity for the precautionary boil, like it would literally be like, this house, yes, this one, no. And so we clearly have really good records. And I just thought that we could communicate that preemptively at that level was pretty remarkable. And so I actually texted John. I said, how can you do this at this level? And he said, because our crews have done the work to know that.
Yeah,
So
it was impressive.
very
It was.
impressive.
Yeah, about 4 years ago, we got ArcGIS, which is a computer program. We're able to digitize all of our water line maps, and our guys in the field can actually update those water line maps in the field. So that comes right back to the office, and then we know, generally speaking, which side of the street your house is hooked up to, and then we know which valves we're going to turn off, put the plan in motion, shut them off at 7, you can move quick. That was the plan until we had organized chaos for 3 hours, so.
Yeah, we had planned the whole morning around this water off, and didn't go quite that way.
Right.
Okay, anything else, John? Or anyone else? Any other department heads? Okay.
Ordinances and resolutions, item 7A has been tabled. Just need a motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Patke, seconded by Pettit, to table item 7A. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? By your vote, you tabled the item. Thank you.
An ordinance authorizing and directing the execution of an STP urban program agreement by and between the City of Washington, Missouri and the Missouri Highways and Transportation Commission for the High Street Reconstruction and ADA Improvements Project, STP 4940608.
Holtmeyer.
Introduced by Councilman Holtmeyer.
Okay, as discussed at the last meeting, this is an STP 8020 grant. The total $1,193,750. City is responsible for 20% of that, $238,750. It would repave High Street from Fifth Street to Front Street, ADA compliant sidewalks, curb and gutter, basically a new corridor as you work down that street. And the proposed construction is 2025. that could float a little bit as we get into design, but this is the agreement with MoDOT to approve that grant.
Any questions or comments?
An ordinance authorizing and directing the execution of an STP urban program agreement by and between the City of Washington, Missouri and the Missouri Highways and Transportation Commission for the High Street Reconstruction and ADA Improvements Project, STP 4940608. Patke?
Yes.
Heidrich?
Aye.
Holtmeyer?
Aye.
Solentrup?
Yes.
Wessels?
Aye.
Scornia?
Yes.
Pettit?
Aye.
Reed?
By your vote, you approve the ordinance. Thank you.
An ordinance authorizing and directing the City of Washington, Missouri to accept the proposal with Wunderlich Surveying and Engineer, Inc. for engineering design services for the High Street Extension Project and amend the 2022 budget.
Patke.
Introduced by Councilman Patke.
First, I just remembered what I forgot earlier. MoDOT is going to be programming the signals along Highway 100 to make them match up a little bit better with new traffic.
Oh, good.
So I got news of that this morning. Should be happening throughout the next couple of weeks, just so you know.
Thank you.
Sorry, back to 7C. Yeah, this is a proposal with Wunderlich Surveying and Engineering to extend High Street to the Marquardt Farm. It's for $23,750. It's the design work to do that. There's a pretty large box culvert that has to go in as well. I failed to mention at the last meeting. As part of that development agreement, the developer is then going to be tying Sophia into that. There are over 120 homes in the Autumn Leaf subdivision, so it's pretty substantial. It would also include a water line extension through there. And again, if everything goes well, there's a possibility it could be under construction by late fall. And the budget amendment is required because it was not part of this. There will be another budget amendment if we choose to proceed with construction in this budget year. If not, it'll be budgeted next year for construction. So again, it came up pretty quick.
Any questions or comments?
An ordinance authorizing and directing the City of Washington, Missouri to accept the proposal with Wunderlich Surveying and Engineering, Inc. for engineering design services for the High Street Extension Project and amend the 2022 budget. Patke?
Yes.
Heidrich?
Aye.
Holtmeyer?
Aye.
Solentrup?
Yes.
Wessels? Scornia?
Yes.
Pettit?
Aye.
Reed?
By your vote, you approve the ordinance. Thank you.
An ordinance authorizing and directing the City of Washington, Missouri to accept the proposal with KJ Understall Constructions Company for the 2022 Lions Lake Walking Path Improvements Project and amend the 2022 budget.
Patke.
Introduced by Councilman Patke.
Okay, as discussed at the last meeting, this is the remaining balance of the 2021 fair revenue that the city received. It's approximately $32,000 left over. We're doing this based off an existing bid with the Bush Creek Greenway. They are not the same project. It's a totally different project. However, we're using that same unit cost because it is a very similar project. 8-foot concrete ADA compliant walking path on the dam of Lions Lake does provide benefit for fairgoers, but it also provides a 365 benefit for the people walking along Lions Lake. There are various trip hazards and things that Wayne and I have been trying to get budgeted over the last couple of years. This would just do the area on top of the dam. Okay, keep that in mind. It's not the entire path, but it does set up well then for the Parks Department to budget a separate project in next year or following year. It takes care of the first phase basically. $31,680 is our estimate. Again, based off the unit cost of a recently bid project.
Is that just an overlay?
Now you're removing the asphalt and replacing it with concrete.
Concrete.
I want to be done with it moving forward.
Oh, concrete.
Concrete.
Okay, good.
Yep. And again, the Parks Department, in conjunction with potentially the Street Department, are going to do the removals, and then they'll be doing the backfilling as well. And I'm thinking sometime late April, first part of May. But again, I got to check with the contractor on that. So just be patient.
You're going to wheelbarrow all that concrete?
They're going to buggy.
I use a Georgia buggy.
Yep, they'll buggy it.
Georgia buggy.
A what?
A Georgia buggy?
Concrete buggy.
Just a concrete buggy.
Which again
Georgia buggy.
is the same means and methods as what they'll be doing potentially, or means and methods as the Bush Creek.
Essentially, just keep the concrete trucks off the dam. That's the main bottom line.
Yep.
It just
I always
it's just
learn something new.
amazing how we had $32,000 left over, and this bid comes in $320 shy of that, though. It just, these bids just amaze
Well,
me sometimes. I
understand-
almost think about, are we throwing numbers at this contractor saying, okay, we got $32,000, you're gonna have to come in
What I-
at
what I-
31,000, blah, 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 to get.
Totally can answer that. What I did was I actually reduced the length to get under the 32,000. So you have a quantity, right? Square foot quantity. It's based off a bid job that is not even remotely part of this project. This project wasn't even thought of when that went out to bid. And I knew what that unit cost was. I knew how wide my sidewalk was, and I just lengthened that thing out until I hit the number.
What did you take out? Get it down
doesn't-
to this.
Well, I mean, it's not that we didn't have, basically I went as far as we could go with the money we had. Does that make sense? So it doesn't quite get all the way around the dam, but it gets to a good defined point to where they come and pave up next to it with phase 2 at a later date.
Well, if it doesn't get us all the way to the dam, why didn't we look into seeing what all the way to the dam would cost?
Well,
if
it gets from,
do it all the way.
because I had $32,000.
Yeah, but we got other funds.
But it was, this was something
I
that
don't
we,
know if I can answer that.
like I said, we talked about that this needed to be replaced. They had complaints last year, I think, that Wayne and him said that we had received from fairgoers, et cetera, that to go ahead and get that portion. So that's what the focus was. And plus, again, we don't typically receive that kind of check back from the chamber, and we did this year due to the fact that they had a record year. So,
But we're doing the work. We're taking it out and backfilling it out.
Correct.
So all he's doing is farming it up and pouring it.
Part of that proposal also had 6,000, 7,000 of removal, and we did not accept that part of that proposal because we're going to do that work on our own. And again, that unit cost was bid on a separate job, basically same bidding cycle. And then all that I did was I knew my 8-foot length and, or width, length times unit bid, and I just shrunk it down to get it under that 32,000.
Well, this isn't the first time, John, we've had bids like this, and we budgeted for a certain dollar amount, and all of a sudden, wow, it comes in just right at budget time, and it makes you, you know, I bid enough jobs in my trade. I mean, this just doesn't happen.
Well,
So
your budget is posted at September, so that could be happening. Your STP grants are estimated in advance. So is that happening to some level? Potentially, yeah. I will say the Snap Type Culvert project had an engineer's estimate at 140. It came in at 103. So I think some of it could be happening.
that's more reality there. 140 coming in at 103, not 32. And I didn't know that you had weaned this down.
I did.
So I'm looking at this going,
I understand.
How in the heck can this, come in at,
That's how I did it, though, because I knew what my unit cost was on a competitively bid project right down the road, okay? And then I lengthened, or just shrunk it down to get in the budget, is what I did.
Understand.
Yeah.
Makes sense. This one.
And then I did talk to the fair, and they're in full support of this. They do have a lot of people that park on the soccer side of the lake there, on the hillside, and in the parking lot, and so they all take this route to get into the entrance of the fair. So I'm going tomorrow, or Wednesday night, and discussing this with them, but they were totally on board with it, so.
Okay. Anyone else?
An ordinance authorizing and directing the city of Washington, Missouri to accept the proposal with KJ Understall Construction Company for the 2022 Lions Lake Walking Path Improvements Project and amend the 2022 budget. Patke?
Yes.
Heidrich?
Aye.
Holtmeyer?
Aye.
Solentrup?
Yes.
Wessels? Scornia?
Yes.
Pettit?
Aye.
Reed?
By your vote, you approve the ordinance. Thank you.
An ordinance authorizing and directing the execution of roles and responsibilities for signing installed and maintained by applicant by and between the city of Washington, Missouri and the Missouri Highways and Transportation Commission.
Holtmeyer.
Introduced by Councilman Holtmeyer.
this is just our agreement with MoDOT with regards to placement of the POW signs that we discussed last meeting.
Okay. Any questions or comments?
An ordinance authorizing and directing the execution of roles and responsibilities for signing, installed, and maintained by applicant by and between the City of Washington, Missouri and the Missouri Highways and Transportation Commission. Patke?
Yes.
Heidrich? Holtmeyer?
Aye.
Solentrop?
Yes.
Wessels? Scornia? Pettit?
Aye.
Reed?
Yep.
By your vote, you approve the ordinance. Thank you.
An ordinance authorizing and directing the execution of a lease agreement by and between the City of Washington, Missouri and the Washington Soccer Association doing business as Washington Soccer Academy.
Patke.
Introduced by Councilman Patke.
Yes, so this is the agreement we discussed at the prior meeting. Again, would be 5-year lease with WSA's option. They would have the option with the consent of the city to extend it for 2 more separate additional periods of 5 years. City would require a $5,000 security deposit. Overall, the lease looks to save my staff between time, labor, materials, about $25,000 or more a year, which will be good. We can allocate those resources to other places in the park system. Again, WSA would be responsible for soccer fields, concession stand, trash, lining of the fields. As I mentioned earlier, they could sublease it to Cross Point School. And we'd have some verbiage on the website on how people could get a hold of them if they were interested in using the field. WSA is proposing to renovate soccer field number 2 up there to fix the drainage issues at a cost of approximately $58,000. They'd be responsible for mowing, fertilizing, aerating, irrigation repairs, overseeding, all those things. Any other questions?
How much is a lease per year? Is it per
$1 a
year?
year.
Huh?
$1 a year.
Dollar, okay.
So,
Double it.
so if someone else wants to use the field, they have to go through,
They would contact WSA directly, and if it worked out with scheduling and everything, then they would work out an agreement.
Wayne, you might have said about the concession stand, they run a concession stand, keep all profits and everything.
Mm-hmm. They already do that now,
Okay.
yeah.
what I'm getting at is if the field's empty, a group of people can't just go down there and,
No, they would still have to contact WSA.
wow.
That's why
And we
we're
have, like
making-
we said at the last
We
meeting.
got one other one.
We got the
Yeah.
other fields that we could go ahead and utilize, the one primarily the Midway.
Yeah, and if we had a real big demand, we could always throw goals down down at Burger too.
Wayne, I don't read.
Ninth and International.
Go ahead.
Yeah,
What's
Burger
your-
Park.
What's your opinion? Do you think that they can handle it if they're gonna wear that field out and nothing flat, if the, spring, summer, fall? They got good intentions, but what if we end up with a mud hole?
Well, we have verbiage in the lease. There'll be a yearly meeting in December to review the fields. And then there's verbiage in the lease to,
Sooner or later, the grass has gotta grow.
right? No, I do think they will. I mean, from what I've seen up until this point, and then having talked to them throughout this process, I do think it is going to be their home and their baby, and they're trying to impress people and keep their customers happy. So I think they'll be able to do it.
Jeff, correct me if I'm wrong, but the negotiations that you guys had with all the people involved, it's worth a try to try this out for a while, see how it works out, correct? I mean, with the amount of money we're going to save for, what, $23,000, you said?
Well, that was definitely the conversation we had over and over, and actually a few park board members wanted to reduce the lease and only do 2 years. But as you know, in order for them to contribute to the repairs of some of the fields, even some of the irrigation or the aeration and fertilization, you don't get your money back in 2 years' time. So it was only fair to make that a 5-year lease and an option so again, that was a discussion in park board, but it was agreed upon that the 5 years was was the right thing to do.
They're going to aerate, feed, and fertilizer every year.
They want what's best for those fields so they can play as many games as they can, and hence this whole situation works for them because they can decide when they want to do it, what they want to do, how much they want to spend to make the fields the best they can, not make a mud hole and for us to repair in 5 years. That's not the objective. It's there for them to use as much as
Or-
possible
or
and make it better.
Wait for our resources to get to it. I mean,
Right.
that's the thing. I mean, Wayne staff's got, as we know, a large park system that we have to go ahead and tend to. So this lets them go ahead and do it when they feel it's necessary on their terms.
They can schedule the games off of one field, fix a field, reseed it, fertilize, whatever they need to do. Where right now, Wayne's department, Wayne's guys, and even the office are trying to correspond with the soccer association when to take the games off, when, all that. So this takes that away, not to mention the dollar amount, but it takes that headache away working together. So
I would like to mention there's Tim is back there, and so is Sarah, both from Washington Soccer Academy. So if you have any questions of them, they're available as well.
hey, Wayne, correct me if I'm wrong here, but did we agree that the fair uses the parking lot and a possible field for the fireworks on Sunday night of the fair?
That is outside of this lease.
So they can
Parking
still
lot.
use that?
They can still use it.
Right.
They don't
We
use
have
the soccer field anymore. They use the parking lot now.
They use the parking.
Right, but I guess I just want to make sure that on the same night, I mean, they're not going to have games on Sunday night of the fair, that it's going to, so that won't be an issue.
No.
Right,
But that parking
Is-
lot is
hope not.
excluded from this because we're responsible.
correct,
For
right.
maintenance to that, so.
Some important person asked me that question, so I thought I needed to make sure.
Any other questions or comments? Okay,
I think
Oh.
it all sounds good. I guess I'm the idea of a public park and we can't use it. That bothers me a little bit. But I understand, and if I'm taking care of a field myself and all kinds of other people are running around on it, that would concern me too. But it just seems giving up that access to a public park,
Well, to contradict that, right now, there's a fence there, even though it's our park, so people stay off the fields when we try to repair and fertilize, that kind of thing. So really, the way we are already now, the park's not open, it's restricted as it is now. So, in other words, they lease the fields for practices and for games and everything else, and that's basically what they're limited to right now, even before this lease. Now with the lease, you're going to see the same thing. They're going to use them and restrict them, but they're going to take care of the maintenance of them. That's really the difference, Mark. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I understand your point. You were taking away a point. That was one of the first discussions we had, that how come we can't let someone else do it? But again, that's where the Midway came in, a few other spots where if there's the other small soccer teams, I call them, in town that want to use a field, we'll have a spot available to do
And
that.
Mark Piontek and I, we looked into this. There are other, even, here in St. Louis, there's my son practices at Creekcore Soccer Complex, which is part of Creekcore Park, which is a huge park in St. Louis. It has trails and a lake and everything like that, and you can't just walk out. They have all these turf soccer fields, and you can't just walk out there unless you have a permit, unless you rent it and things.
Leased to private entities. Scott Gallagher Soccer Club, Lufew Soccer Club has fields down there. Those are all publicly owned properties, but they're leased to those clubs.
And essentially, that's what would love to happen here. This club is going to grow and have more teams here, and therefore more people from out of town coming into town. Is a tax economic boost for the whole city. Is the long range plan too.
Yep.
I think if you're going to have an annual meeting with them every year in December, you said, and we're saving some $20-some thousand in labor, and they're taking care of the field, I don't think it's a no-brainer.
Yeah, I
Well,
mean-
at least try it for, you're going to keep an eye on it anyway, because you're going to be
Yeah.
cutting the grass around it anyway.
Yep.
So I think it's worth trying. Because we've had so many problems with the league, and I've heard so many stories about it,
Well, they want to grow, so they want to be able to have control of the fields.
Yeah.
That's really what it amounts
Yeah.
to. So yeah, it works out.
Thank you.
anyone else? You're welcome. Okay, ready?
Get her done.
An ordinance authorizing and directing the execution of a lease agreement by and between the City of Washington, Missouri and the Washington Soccer Association doing business as Washington Soccer Academy. Patke?
Yes.
Heidrich?
Aye.
Holtmeyer?
Aye.
Solentrup?
Yes.
Wessels? Scornia?
Yes.
Pettit?
Aye.
Reed.
Yes.
Hey, Chief, I think they,
I think the,
people from the Soccer Association would
Wanted
like
to
to go
say
ahead and
something.
speak. Go ahead, Sarah.
Good
Tim.
evening. My name is Sarah Lowe. I'm the Executive Director of Washington Soccer Academy. Thank you so much for considering this. We understand that it's new. We understand that we've had a lot of growth over the last 3 years, and I sort of wanted to explain why we've gotten to this point and address some of your questions. For 49 years, Washington Soccer Academy has existed in Washington to serve its community and teach children how to play soccer. Over the last 3 years, it has grown significantly. We've gone from a 10-week session in the fall to having development programs, recreational programs, and also competitive programs. Last year, we started with 4 competitive teams, and we've grown to 7 already. So soccer is very, very popular in the area. With the new MLS expansion in St. Louis, we just see nothing but tremendous amount of growth. We get to host games from the St. Louis area in Washington. We get to play host to those other towns and clubs and show them what Washington has to offer, which a lot of them then go and visit downtown businesses, the other parks in the area, and they just really enjoy our town. To answer your question about outside visitors, tomorrow night we get to host Cross Point Christian School for their games. On Friday night, we'll be doing the same thing. So with our mission to grow the sport, we welcome visitors. If they want to be playing on the fields, we expect them to be playing on the fields. They will walk around the gate. It's not that hard. If you want to play soccer on the fields, they'll be there. If the lights are on, we experience kids from all over playing the sport, and that's what we're here to do, is to have the sport grow. So, are there any other questions for us as the Academy to answer for you?
Good luck.
Good luck.
Thank you very much. We appreciate the opportunity.
yeah, thank you for coming up.
Thank
So
you.
anyway, all right. So we just voted, and by your vote, you approve the ordinance. So anyway, all right, very good.
An ordinance authorizing and directing the city of Washington, Missouri to enter into a sales contract between Fuse Ford, Inc. for the purchase of 2 2022 Ford Police Interceptor SUVs and 1 2021 Ford F-150 Police Responder truck.
Holtmeyer.
Introduced by Councilman Holtmeyer.
This as discussed in the workshop, council. Purchase of 3 vehicles for the police fleet. Part of a total purchase including equipment, that's the next ordinance. The vehicles themselves, a cost of $114,965. I need your approval to proceed with that.
Any questions or comments?
An ordinance authorizing and directing the city of Washington, Missouri to enter into a sales contract between Fuse Ford, Inc. for the purchase of 2 2022 Ford Police Interceptor SUVs and 1 2021 Ford F-150 Police Responder truck. Patke?
Yes.
Heidrich?
Aye.
Holtmeyer?
Aye.
Solentrup? Wessels? Squirnia?
Yes.
Pettit?
Yes.
Reed?
Yes.
By your vote, you approve the ordinance. Thank you.
An ordinance authorizing and directing the city of Washington, Missouri to enter into a sales contract between VIP Public Safety for the purchase, outfitting, and upgrading of equipment for 2 2022 Ford Police Interceptor SUVs and 1 2021 Ford F-150 Police Responder truck.
Holtmeyer.
Introduced by Councilman Holtmeyer.
Again, as we talked earlier in the workshop, this is for the purchase, outfitting, and upgrading of any equipment needed for those 3 patrol vehicles through VIP Public Safety. The total for all of that package to make them road ready is $43,383.14. Request your approval to proceed.
Any questions or comments?
An ordinance authorizing and directing the city of Washington, Missouri to enter into a sales contract between VIP Public Safety for the purchase, outfitting, and upgrading of equipment for 2 2022 Ford Police Interceptor SUVs and 1 2021 Ford F-150 Police Responder truck. Patke?
Yes.
Heidrich?
Aye.
Holtmeyer?
Aye.
Solentrup? Wessels? Squirnia?
Yes.
Pettit?
Aye.
Reed?
Yeah.
By your vote, you approve the ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you, Council. And just to remind you that this is under budget for this project with all the vehicles and equipment by $29,384.86. So thank you.
Very good. Thank you.
An ordinance authorizing and directing the City of Washington, Missouri to accept the sales contract from Cochran Engineering for professional design services for the South Point groundwater storage tank.
Hydrich.
Introduced by Councilman Hydrich.
Again, this is something that we brought to you earlier. Cochran will be doing all of the design and the inspections, everything that is involved with the tank, with all the requirements that the Department of Natural Resources has with building a tank. They'll be handling all of that for us. We've worked with Cochran before. Right now, they're actually working with us on the Clay Street and Enduro tank repainting of both of those. And everything is going wonderful. They've done a great job. So I think it's a good move for the city to move forward with this.
Kevin, this is a tank you said earlier, a 1 million gallon tank, right?
Yes.
And is that the same as Clay Street?
It will look almost the same. It might be a little bit taller, might be a little bit, but it's going to be real close. So it will be the same color. And it will have
An
Washington
idea what it
on
will look like, but it's, yeah, real similar to that.
Yes, real similar to that, yes.
I would also add, the water department is going to be extending the water line to the site with our own forces. Again, to save some of that money, they can handle that type of work.
Yes.
So,
Have a great crew for that.
They will be also trenching, open cutting South Point Road. So South Point Road is also scheduled to be paved this year with the Washington Special Road District. So all those projects have been coordinated essentially for this summer to make sure that we don't cut a road that was just paved.
Yeah, we'll be ahead of that schedule, so.
And we did on South Point Road, John.
Yes.
Get both sides, it's gonna be curb and gutter instead of one now?
That's a ongoing discussion and negotiation with the Washington Special Road District. That would be the ideal situation. If you all do recall, Washington Special Road District in the city meanders in and out of city limits. They're responsible for theirs. We're responsible for city limits. The area within city limits does need to be paved. It's right at the entrance, essentially to the first entrance to Stonecrest. Part of their original plan was to just put curb and gutter on the west side of South Point Road. So as you go from Stonecrest first entrance to Reekers, I guess, or to the north, essentially, they would just be putting it on the west side. When we heard about that situation, and there's also a water line that can be connected to loop the system through there, we were working with the Special Road District to take that linear footage, put it on the east side, and that we would look at putting the curb and gutter then on the west side, and then pave the roadway. And then we would also look at seeing if we could look at maybe annexing the roadway for police chief, or for enforcement. And then also with the agreement with the Special Road District, we're receiving revenue right now. So again, it would invest that money we're getting from the Special Road District as new revenue and then putting it right back on a roadway that provides all this benefit, so we get a finished corridor rather than just a half-finished corridor.
I was just going to mention this later on during my report, but we did receive our first payments from the Special Road District as a result of the agreement that the council put together. I think it was supposed to start in February 2022. We've gotten the checks that are approximately a little less than $100,000. So if you'll recall, we have, just to try to explain that funding source again, when Franklin County became a first-class county, they had to set aside 25% of those revenues, and those went to direct allocations to the city. That's why we have the money sitting over there in the account to go ahead and take care of the projects that we passed at your last council meeting, and plus you got one on here, 7J, tonight as well. But it also can help fund, like what John said, just those types of projects. And then with the agreement, we got the additional 25% on top of that the statute allowed the district to go ahead and pay back to the city, and that's why we're receiving that additional funding. But that did first start here in the last couple of months, that we're getting that money back from the road district. And in return for that, there's so many man hours, I think it's 200 man hours that we provide back to the Special Road District if they need it, when they need it. Yeah, striping, whatever they may need.
Did I answer your question, Joe?
Yeah,
Okay, just
Yeah.
wanted to make sure.
yeah, it's good. I was just making sure we get that done.
Yeah, that water line connection is kind of part
That's
of this.
important.
And again, it's all coordinated to make sure that we're not cutting streets that were just paved.
And that water line would actually be a good investment for the new tank that's being put out there too. So,
Well, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's all hand in hand.
yeah.
Any other questions or comments? Okay.
An ordinance authorizing and directing the city of Washington, Missouri to accept the sales contract from Cochran Engineering for professional design services for the South Point groundwater storage tank. Patke?
Yes.
Heidrich?
Aye.
Holtmeyer?
Aye.
Sullentrup?
Yes.
Wessels? Scornia?
Yes.
Pettit?
Aye.
Reed?
Yep.
By your vote, you approve the ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thanks, Kevin.
An ordinance authorizing and directing the execution of a development agreement by and between the City of Washington, Missouri, Robert E. Helsher and Jeannie L. Helsher, trustees under the Robert E. Helsher and Jeannie L. Helsher Joint Revocable Trust Agreement dated December 8th, 2014.
Holtmeyer.
Introduced by Councilman Holtmeyer.
So over the past few months, city staff have been working with the property owner here to secure the extension of Rabbit Trail to Beaker Road. We have identified that in our long-range plan, our comprehensive plan, and our transportation maps to go ahead and have that connection made. This would work with the property owner to where if they provide the right-of-way for the roadway, the city would build the street. The difference between that and the development that I think has been before you just to the west of that is that will be part of a subdivision where you'll have driveways coming directly onto that street. With one of the parts of this agreement is that driveways will not be directly accessible off of Rabbit Trail Drive, or this extension of Rabbit Trail Drive.
But they will be on the other road.
Yes, on the other road over there that you see over there, just like I said, to the west, there will be.
Okay.
I would also add that that plat was approved prior to this agreement in place. So that was done as a private party situation, that we really didn't have any requirements or any say to it.
So there'll actually be two ways of getting to Beaker Road.
This is the primary. If you are traveling from the north to the south to Beaker, you'll utilize this main thoroughfare, which is Hatchton Mall.
You would rather probably take that
Right,
than
right.
Yeah, but I'm just saying there
Right.
is.
But there is two.
Yeah.
Yes.
There is a second
Be a
one.
second way.
How wide is the one you're proposing that we do?
40.
It's 40,
And the other one?
35.
The other one, 35?
Yep,
And the one that we are proposing, it will allow parking
it would.
on both sides.
It would allow parking, correct. Just like any.
Wide enough for that.
What do you estimate for the cost for that?
I think we had it right around 500,000. It's pretty flat.
Yeah, I brought it up, and I asked John about this before too, that it just seems like a lot to avoid some driveways coming into the road. Whereas if we could just hook into the road that the other people are building, it's a real short stub, you know?
But-
Now, that other one is not as wide though?
It's not, no.
But one you can have driveways in and the other one you can't.
That's
Correct.
correct. There's really
Trying to
three.
keep it as a thoroughfare.
There's three components to roadways. I mean, it's pretty simple. It's width, speed limit, and access. And the one that we really don't have any controls in city code is access. There is nothing written in the code that says you can limit driveways. So the only way you can do that is if you participate in the construction of the roadway and negotiate that into the deal. Otherwise, you get situations like a Rabbit Trail to the north. This, again, is, if you remember, is somewhat in conjunction with the connection, the east-west connection over to Phoenix Center. So this cannot be built, as part of this development here, cannot be built until that east-west connection from Rabbit Trail to the north is put over in the Phoenix Center. Because again, the primary concern is the intersection of Phoenix Center Drive, Rabbit Trail, and 100, all the traffic that is going from one of your largest blocks of residential to your largest blocks of commercial is causing congestion at the intersection. Unfortunately, there are solutions at that intersection, but that we've presented, but we haven't proceeded with any of those. So this is the way that you solve those.
Will we extend any sewer or water down this
That's not
property?
part of that, that's not part of this agreement, it's just the road.
Okay.
Not saying that that couldn't be done by another developer to the east, if they choose to develop it.
There'll be sewer and water on the other project.
How far
Yes.
apart do they reach Beaker?
I'm sorry, what was the
The
question?
distance between the two roads and their access to
About
Beaker?
200 feet.
Oh,
isn't
that's,
it?
oh, no, that's, I just had it here. Give me 1 second. I just had it here. 1 second. It is, it's like, I'm gonna get this wrong. It's 132, 126, it's like 280, 300, which typically 260, 270 between intersections is about what MoDOT is good design. So you're right there.
I talked to John about this, like the road coming from Earthcrest down and this road coming down. And then you're funneling them down to Beaker Road at 47. And then you've got that little stub coming behind Dairy Queen. And it's almost the same setup as we got over there by the Phoenix Center. Only that intersection, the 47 Beaker Road, could be addressed when they widen 47, if this does become a problem. Because right now, there's no stacking distance there now. I don't go that way very often, but there's a lot of times you can't get through. If you're going west on Beaker, trying to cross 47 to Studerman, you can't make it in one light cycle.
Sometimes not two.
Sometimes not.
Yeah, there are no turn lanes at that intersection, correct. And again, 47, there's been discussion with the 47 study to widen it. That intersection will be part of that widening, so we address it at that time.
Right, there's nothing you can do about it now until 47.
I would not, I don't think that that's
Would be
resources
advantageous.
well spent to
Right.
do that right now. This would give someone, this would give people Rabbit Trail connection from the south if you're traveling down Beaker to the west, Rabbit Trail, Washington Heights Drive, and then Beaker as well. So now you have 3 essentially connections to make your travels. So
When we slate on construction? You think?
this is all,
This agreement works till the end of the calendar year of 2023. That's what we're hoping for is 2023.
Okay.
it's mainly subject on the east-west connection from Rabbit Trail over to Phoenix Center.
Right.
Because again, that's the primary.
Yeah.
You can't do this one because then you cause it a bigger issue.
The hopeful 23.
Yeah.
So
yes.
is this, what you're asking, is it contingent upon the other one?
No,
No.
No?
It's just we don't
no.
proceed with.
You're going to have another chance to go ahead before we move forward with that to make sure that that other connection is made and that this doesn't get, I mean, both of those are going to have to come back before you, so, as a council.
You'll have to accept the bid.
Right.
John, is that map true where the other subdivision street would stop at the property line and not connect to the street there, or is that a
No, it would connect.
potential
The,
problem?
the white hatch is not a exact location. It could meander a little bit off of that.
Okay.
But it would connect over there. That's all dependent on, there is some common ground on this other subdivision with the anticipation that you would make up for that to create another residential lot. So this distance that you see kind of right here may vary slightly.
Okay.
If you remember my little hand-drawn sketch.
Right.
That
Just
tried
making
to
sure it's not a stub there
take into
that's
account.
not.
No,
connecting.
it's connected.
Yeah, it's connected.
That's all right. Map doesn't show it.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
What do we got here?
An ordinance authorizing and directing the execution of a development agreement by and between the City of Washington, Missouri, Robert E. Helsher and Jeannie L. Helsher, trustees under the Robert E. Helsher and Jeannie L. Helsher Joint Revocable Trust Agreement dated December 8th, 2014. Patke,
Yes.
Heidrich,
Aye.
Holtmeyer,
Aye.
Solentrup,
Yes.
Wessels,
Aye.
Scornia,
Yes.
Pettit,
Aye.
Reed.
Yeah.
By your vote, you approve the ordinance. Thank you.
Mayor's report.
Once again, I want to give a shout out to our teams who worked so diligently and professionally on Thursday morning with all the chaos that was going on at the time. So I really appreciate that, and really want to salute them for their diligence. Secondly, tomorrow is Election Day, so encourage all of our citizens and to get out and vote. That is one of our civic duties, is to vote, so we encourage everyone to get out there and make your vote known. And then this will be, I guess, by tomorrow evening about this time, we should know who our new mayor is and who we'll have at least 2 new council members. And so just want to say how much I've enjoyed serving with all of you. It's been a great ride for me, and I've enjoyed it, and we'll see what happens. So anyway, so thank you, and thank you for continuing to serve your community. It's very rewarding. I know that there are times when you might think it isn't, but in the big picture, it really is. So anyway, so thank you.
City Administrator's report.
The only last item I had was that we did receive, we went out for RFQs for the design and inspection for a new HVAC system over at the library. And we received 2 of those just this past Friday. We'll be getting a committee together to go ahead and look at, try to select one of those 2 entities and then move forward with the council for replacement of the library HVAC. So stay tuned. And I do have one small item for you in executive session.
Council comments.
Yeah, I got a couple of things. Or Joe, you were going up. Go ahead. Were you going to say something?
You first.
All right. Thank you. John, we've talked about talking with MoDOT at Rabbit Trail and 100 a month ago or so about getting that patched. I guess we've been putting some patches on it.
We don't. It's MoDOT right of way.
Okay, well, somebody put a few in there to fill this, but it's terrible.
Yep.
That approach there is terrible.
Yes, it is.
Have you contacted them? Have they said anything?
They're paving 100 next year.
Yeah, but we need to get that approach taken care of now, not next year.
MoDOT right, I will tell them.
We can let Stephen O'Connell know.
Yep.
Yep,
That
we'll let
patch
them
is
know.
what you're going to get.
Well, I know about how far that'll go, but
It's not a right.
not on your part.
It's like I don't, like I said,
I can look
So
into it.
we have to work
again, but
with.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to do temporary patches to limp it through till next year. That's what they're going to do.
Well, we just
Definitely.
need them back out there because there's holes there. I mean, no matter what, if they want to continue to put temporary patches every other weekend, that's what we need to do.
Yeah.
I mean, it's.
Yep.
So we talked about on Lexington, taking out those bump outs that's actually against our ordinance to even have them on the streets.
Mm-hmm.
How are we coming with that?
It was on the traffic committee agenda for Friday, and I had an emergency family situation, so I couldn't be at the meeting, so they tabled it until the next meeting. The reason why I want to take it to traffic to look into that is because I believe there's a lot of history with getting those put in, and now we're wanting to remove
It
them.
generated through the traffic committee.
So I want to make sure that we get that taken care of, because, I mean, I don't know how much good they do. They were put in, I just don't have the history, and I want to make sure that it goes to the traffic committee before we
Technically, I think
remove
it's
something.
against our ordinance now. Those are against our ordinance that we
I don't
put
think it
into effect.
serves as a speed bump. I think you have a speed bump that I'm aware of. I'm looking at Mark back there for the fire department that I know. That was put in years ago, but.
That's why it was put there.
But we do not, it is nothing against those. I don't think those chokers are. But that's what a remedy that was brought up, because if you'll remember, the people in the subdivision at the time were crying about the fact that how fast the speeds were on Lexington.
See, it's a traffic calming.
Traffic calming.
It's a traffic calming device is what it is. And as we say in the traffic committee, every time that we have issues with speed, I don't have a solution for traffic calming on 35-foot wide streets. There is no infrastructure solution to that that's acceptable by all parties. So how do you solve that, right? And I know enforcement's an issue because you can't have police officers there 24/7 either. So it was a traffic calming as the best solution at the time, from what I understand. but I don't want to unilaterally go take them out until it runs through the proper channels, which is the traffic committee, and I have the history. And unfortunately, that was on Friday's agenda, and like I said, I had a.
So, Mark, are you saying that
Some
people?
people are using them as speed bumps, so
So you're saying they're no longer working, or the people in the subdivision no longer want them?
nobody wants them anymore. And
So the same people who
actually,
did
people
want
are
them
getting-
don't want them?
People are getting all razzled, and you're getting people slamming on their brakes.
So they're calming.
Yeah, well, if we want to put some calming, let's put some four-way stop at Winona and Mike Allen. I asked for
not
that
a
10 years
traffic
ago.
measure.
That'll
Stop-
calm,
stop
that'll
signs.
calm.
Stop signs are not
I know, stop signs don't slow people down. I've been told that a million times, but it will make them pause. I tell you that, but,
I mean, you understand the struggle that we have one issue over here and the other issue, and we're trying to use infrastructure to prevent habits of drivers. It's,
Well, you're not gonna-
there is no solution. to
people are
this.
doing 50, 60 miles an hour through there yet, and you're not going to prevent that. People are aggravated with them. They're
50 to
driving.
60 miles an hour?
Yeah, you want to come down, Darren? Pick up a
Just,
12-pack.
if it is, I think then the chief needs to
Yeah.
probably have people out there go ahead
I'll
and start
send a
writing
call,
tickets.
start sending calls to you. I mean, they don't have radars, but I've been up
We
there
did that
watching.
once before, and the people that were getting the tickets are the ones that live in the
They
southern.
lived in
That's
the
what,
subdivision,
exactly, that's
right.
what my point is.
Oh, yeah.
That's what happens.
Oh, yeah.
We had a zero tolerance policy.
Yeah.
Anybody over the speed limit got a ticket. Everybody in the subdivision was upset because they were willing to get.
I remember that. So also, Chief, if we could get that trailer put on Rabbit Trail sometime. I was just seeing what the,
That's the status, though, is it got bumped to the next agenda because I couldn't make it.
that's good. That's, as long as it's in motion.
Aren't effective for.
I don't disagree with that. I just, again, I want to make sure, I don't want to go take them out tomorrow without going through the proper channels.
And I know you giggled a little bit about the pause, but the pause is almost causing accidents because people, and no disrespect, older citizens in the neighborhood are slamming on the brakes. And then people, I'm sorry, Mark, but, they're getting confused.
Correct.
So,
Yep.
and I just have one other thing. I just want to tell everybody that's running for tomorrow, good luck, and may the best candidates win. And I just want to ask one other thing for all candidates, because I know there's some in the room. Please pick up your signs. Get them up, get them out. Don't leave them days
I'll go
on
ahead.
end.
And I've asked John's office to go ahead, and on Friday actually this week, we'll be doing a sweep through town. Any signs that are in public right-of-way will be pulled.
And it's important to understand that, because when you drive up Fifth Street, there's a lot of signs behind the curb line, or behind the sidewalk, stacked up. That's not public right of way, that's private property. So we gotta be very cognizant with our staff as we go through this, because you may still see a lot of signs right next to the sidewalk, but that's private property. So.
Well, I'm not asking
Yeah.
for our tax dollars to pick up signs. I'm asking the candidates to.
I would
because
prefer if we didn't-
loitering.
We have a lot more, we have a lot of other signs that are not politically.
Oh, I know.
That are out there
I
in the
know.
right-of-way.
Just throwing it out
It's a
there.
sweep through the whole town. We don't look at content.
Right.
Do it.
Right.
So.
Yep. That's all, Joe, believe it or not.
I just wanted to thank Mary Lucy for all the years of service she put in, and you're the only mayor I've been under so far, so it's all going to be different for everybody, but I just want to sure appreciate everything you've done for the city.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, Lucy.
Got some splaining to do.
Planning to do.
Thank you.
City Attorney's Report, public vote on whether or not to hold a closed meeting to discuss personnel, legal, and real estate matters pursuant to Section 610.021 RSMO 2000. Patke?
Yes.
Hydrich?
Aye.
Holtmeyer?
Aye.
So, Trupp? Wessels?
Aye.
Scornia?
Pettit.
I was thinking of.
Scornia?
Don't take it.
Pettit?
Aye.
Reed?
I'm like, I heard him. I'm like, I thought you were trying to read my name. I'm like, it says Pettit. He did say it though.